everything is good. Hope everything is good. I've had a rough week. Very rough week. Of course, if you can't tell, my voice is feeling a bit out. Because, yeah, that's what's been going on this week. So, definitely see how things can improve, how things get better, how things move on. But, yeah, here we go, here we go. That's where we go. Welcome back, people. Welcome back. Sorry I haven't been around for about a week or so. So, yeah. And I'm back to talk to people. Isn't that fun? So, hopefully all is well with everybody else in the world, but of course I just wanted to take a peek and look over a few things and see how things are going. I haven't really been able to keep up with a lot of stuff, but of course I wanted to check some of these things out and hopefully people be able to talk to me about it and, throw me a curveball. Toss me off to the side, throw me in a river. Something, But here we are. This one really interested me because, there's always been a thing about, Japan and Visa and a whole bunch of that stuff because they're doing the processing thing and whatever. But a lot of people like to actually blame it on anime racism, because who knows? Well, definitely have to take a look at that and see how things are going because, seriously. I don't exactly agree with what the payment processors are trying to do because that's just cutting people off from what they want,
At least a month or two without at least one bit of news coming out of Japan about payment processing companies getting their hands inside of how they do business. Jumping in there and saying that, yes, even though the buyer consents to buying something, even though the seller consents to selling something, even though the law in Japan dictates that it is legal to actually sell or buy this item, we're going to tell you, no, you didn't ask for our permission. And I think that's a very big issue. I think the idea of these big companies, these credit card companies, these processing companies, really kind of dictating what people do, essentially creating their own laws, is a thing for massive concern.
Thank you
for the
follow.
I've been kind of following for a while now, especially through Taro Yamada. He seems to be like one of the biggest, political leaders that is kind of getting in there and saying, hey, folks in the diet, people in the government, you need to wake up. There's people outside of our borders that are telling us what we can sell and what we can buy. They're going against our laws that dictate what we're able to do, which I've kind of told a lot of people. Yes, Japan's laws and their, protections and whatnot for freedom of expression is very similar to what we kind of see in the United States. Yeah, technically, a lot of their constitution is based on our concepts there. So yes, I've been following Yamada for quite a while now, and I think, of course, the biggest recent news that came out of Japan was the whole situation with Surugaya. And yes, for those that don't know what happened, that whole situation, Surugaya is a major Japanese online retailer, and at some point, I think it was on May 20th, as you can see right here, there was a statement released by Telos, which I believe they pretty much handle their all their transactions, which, yes, does utilize big credit card companies. And what they stated was that as of May 19th, 2025, the sales page for adult products on Surugaya website has been temporarily closed. They also listed a statement by Surugaya citing, a situation has arisen where we need to discuss the means of payment for adult products with the provider company.
See, that's where all of a sudden things start getting disingenuous. It's up there with like the American Texas law that they're trying to push for with regards to the whole anime thing. It's normies that seem to have the belief that all anime and manga is hentai and all hentai is anime and manga, and they don't really understand it. They don't want to understand it. They don't care to understand it. And so it just goes into a blanket mess, which has led to payment problems, especially in Japan.
Which, yes, there's the big red flag there, is the fact that, yes, they're stating specifically payment methods are having problems. We have issues going on. Now, since then, things have been restored. Things have been restored on the site itself. As we see here, they made a statement saying that, yes, this stuff has been reinstated, but we've kind of restricted what payment processing you can do. Like all these adult items are back on there. It's just that we had to kind of do each one of them, and the payments available for each one is different than typical products. Yes, removing credit card companies from being able to be processed for those transactions. So it's basically their way of saying, look, we're still going to sell this stuff. This is part of our economy. This is something that we sell and people buy on a regular basis. We don't want to prevent having those things listed on our site, so we're just not going to use them, which is a nice thing. I praise them for that. Like anybody, all these companies that are dealing with this stuff, cut these people off. Cut these credit card companies off. Do not let them dictate what you sell. There's been unfortunately a lot of cases in the past with some of these people being affected by this stuff that are having to take big impacts on their companies. Some companies shutting down completely because of this. Yes, we've kind of seen all the previous cases like DL Site, Pixiv, DMM, Manga Library, Melon Books, even Nico Nico, even though Nico Nico didn't really state that it was specifically the credit card companies that were coming down on them. These companies are having to change how they do business, and some companies are shutting down because of what they're doing here. And that's why I really do appreciate what Taro Yamada is doing. For those who don't know who Taro Yamada is, I have him right here. Taro Yamada is somebody, again, that I've been actually following for a long time. Now, I want to preface this by saying, yes, I understand the old saying, and it's no different in Japan, how do you know a politician is lying? Their mouth is moving. I do acknowledge that, yes, even in Japan, politicians are going to have their own self-interest. But I do feel like Taro Yamada has at least put boots on the ground. He's somebody that has actually gone out there. I've talked about previously with his fighting with the whole situation with Visa MasterCard. But I'll get into it in a minute. To get into who Taro Yamada is, just to give people a little bit of background here, he's a Japanese politician, obviously, who has consistently opposed regulations on the expression of manga, anime, games, and similar media since the 22nd House of Councilors election in 2010. He's become interested in expression regulations issues because his daughter is a cosplayer and a fujoshi. Which, yes, for those that don't know what fujoshi is, a fan of BL, boys love, that kind of stuff. Which, yes, in a lot of these cases, that's the stuff they're coming down on. This is what the credit card companies don't like, is that kind of stuff, which we'll get into more of that in a minute. And through her, he became to understand that there are people who feel anxious about expression restrictions. After entering the Diet through a supplementary election, he gave speeches opposing expression regulations. On February 14th, 2016, Yamada founded a political group called the Party to Protect Freedom of Expression, which focused on the policy of protecting expression. Again, this is a guy that has the boots on the ground. He also, of course, joined forces with Ken Akamatsu, of course, is known for the creator of Love Hina. For those that don't know that, Love Hina Negima, he's the mangaka for those series.
Yeah.
He's also become a political leader as well, and the two of them have kind of been working side by side. So we have somebody that's literally used to be in the industry itself, is seeing the stifling of expression, and he's joined forces with Yamada as well, which is...
Yeah, this is calling back towards the whole idea of Visa, MasterCard, and a whole bunch of the others are primarily, I mean, English-speaking normies, and Japan being what it is. And because things are viewed absolutely different across those ponds. So from one side of the world to the other, it's where all of a sudden they look at the things that are going on, they don't understand it, and they just come from a more Christian Puritan background with regards to a majority of things. Now, I'm not going to throw in my religion too hard on this because, well, I'm a Christian. But aside from that, there are different societies in the world, and the one thing that you can definitely understand is you can look at different artwork and immediately not see that it is not, bad, that it is not fitting with regards to things that are intended to be offensive. Like, best examples are some of the things like Dragon Ball and a few of those others. However, with regards to some of the other normies out there in the world, there are some that just off the fact that they see something even slightly untoward with regards to even Dragon Ball. I mean, there's one scene in particular that I remember from the oldest version of Dragon Ball that I remember personally that, I mean, this just rips my gourd every time, is there were people in the world that saw little Goku when he was basically bathing. He had his purple tail, but he was basically, in essence, a 8, 9 year old child who is nude, bathing, whatever. They didn't show anything bad with regards to it. They didn't show anything. He had a towel. But there were normies that just freaked out, even though it was an animated character. And I'm sitting here going, I saw worse things when I was growing up. I mean, we're talking, I grew up a lot older times than a lot of people these days. And there was a lot worse on TV. I mean, heck, I grew up just Yosemite Sam blowing things up. A lot of us aren't idiots. Let's try to trust people not to be fools, okay? But then again, times have changed, and I don't know if we can assume people are having that much common sense these days. I just don't know.
Fantastic. The two of them, again, are the people that I think are doing the most to kind of protect this whole situation. And of course, one of the biggest things that Yamada has done here recently was late last year, he actually confronted Visa themselves. He actually went down to the headquarters in the United States and said, "What are you guys doing?"
Good on him for doing it and calling him on the goddamn carpet.
On August 17th, on 2024, Yamada laid out key points of this meeting. Visa does conduct legal assessments of whether a transaction is legal or illegal, but does not make value judgments on content that is legal. That sounds a little counter to what's actually happening, right? Even in regard to adult content, they apply universal standards such as compliance with age-related rules, again, including no children allowed. The content is provided with consent. Based on these standards, they make decisions, but they do not set or evaluate standards regarding the nature of the content itself. For Visa's own regulations, headquarters only set the criteria, and decisions are made on the ground level, not by the headquarters. Again, very interesting. And I think that sort of brings up the question mark, is this a problem at the headquarters or is this a problem at the local level? As a result of this meeting, Visa's headquarter policy and stance has been made clear. Going forward in addressing credit card-based content restrictions, I intend to follow up with local level entities such as acquiring banks, merchant contract companies, or payment processors who appear to be making the actual decisions. So right here, the headquarters of Visa is saying, whoa, no, we don't do that stuff. We don't do that stuff. That's the assumption that's happening, but yeah.
Basically right there is summing it up down to, I'm going to pass the buck. I am not going to hold myself accountable for this. I'm going to say it's a whole bunch of other people. It's not my fault. No. Dude, just no.
Yes, they're claiming they're not doing anything. And following that, on November 27th, of course, we had the whole statement that was made by Seton Kitney, who, of course, is the president representing director of Visa Worldwide Japan. And they stated during a Q&A, a question was raised about the recent trend of Visa being unable to use their payment methods on websites selling legally in Japan adult content. Kitani responded that while Visa's policy is to make its services available for legal and legitimate purposes as much as possible, sometimes it is necessary to make certain things unusable to protect the brand. Big red flag right there. He explained that the actual decisions are complex, involving a balance between global and local policies. They emphasize that maintaining integrity and completeness is also important, suggesting that these decisions are not temporary but will continue. Again, that's very, very to the point of what the headquarters said, but a little bit contrary to it, and the idea that yes, this sort of does lead us to believe it's not necessarily the headquarters of Visa doing it, but local entities that are doing it. At that point, Yamada did contact Visa Worldwide Japan, and they clarified the following points on December 2nd. There have been no changes or additions to the response provided by Visa US headquarters. The reported comments acknowledge that...
Excuse me. Sorry. Yeah. Like I said, my acid reflux has really been kicking in on me, so occasionally, yeah, it's tearing me up. But occasionally I'm probably going to cough, and it's going to cause a problem. But I'm working on my medications, so we'll see if this different one actually starts helping things out here in the next couple of days, and I'll be better next week. But maybe even by tomorrow. But we'll see how strong it kicks in. Sorry about that.
That there may be instances where acquirers and payment processors make such judgments at the operation level. In essence, both Visa US headquarters and Visa Worldwide Japan maintain consistent positions with the information previously obtained by Yamada Taro. The official stance is as follows. While Visa evaluates transactions based on legal and illegal criteria, it does not make value judgments on legal content. Again, if it's legal, it's allowed. Doesn't seem like they're doing that. Regarding adult content, Visa has established universal standards based on age verification to prevent, obviously, bad things happening to children, and consensual provisions. However, Visa does not set standards or make judgments on the content itself. Visa headquarters only sets the standard.
Unfortunately, that's where you don't make judgments on the content itself. But that's up there with making judgments on the content anyway because of the events that had already previously happened. Yeah, double standards much?
Standards for Visa regulations, individual judgments are made at the operational level. Visa's headquarters has never issued instructions prohibiting the handling of content containing specific terms or keywords. Well, the conclusion that he sort of came to is that it doesn't seem like, if we take their word for it, that the headquarters in America is saying anything. This is sort of kind of leading to this idea that the headquarters that were in Asia and Japan specifically were the ones causing the problem. But I think because of this whole kind of runaround that they were given, Taro Yamada, I believe he came to the conclusion that this is going to be something that they're going to have to do in the Japan government. That the Diet is going to have to take action. If they can't get clear answers from Visa themselves, they're going to have to take action in the Diet to prevent this stuff from happening. Which, yes, all leads us to the post that was made today by Taro Yamada. Taro Yamada says, breaking news, the first meeting of the Content Industry Strategy Promotion Study Group on June 3rd. A new study group has been established, with the resolution of the credit card issue as one of the key themes. Thank you. Again, he's taking action. He's actually taking action. He's bringing people together and saying, we have to stop this. It has been agreed that the group will work with the government to address the credit card problem. Previously, it was difficult to find lawmakers who shared concerns about credit card expression regulations. However, as a result of persistent and tenacious efforts, the understanding of the study group's members, lawmakers, has been gained, bringing people together for this. This study group aims to research and propose effective policies to promote the sustainable development and strengthening the global competitiveness of content industries such as animation. Its mission is to deliver tangible results. Again, actually getting stuff done.
We shall see.
Under the strong leadership of former Prime Minister Fumio Kishida as chairman and Diet member Fumiaki Kobayashi as Secretary General, the group is committed to achieving solid outcomes. The study group...
Well, it's possible that Visa and MasterCard could cave on this whole matter. And, because the Japanese government decides to, twist their arm to actually make sure that things go, because the art industry in Japan is so large, and this is trying to handicap that. So it's not good for commerce, which is the angle that they're pushing on. But who knows? Sometimes we've seen effects from items that have happened in different countries actually bend things over and make things better for people all around the world, but we shall see.
Group's main area of focus include not only various policies I've championed for the past 6 years since 2019 upper house election, such as protecting and supporting animators and creators, combating piracy and utilizing digital technologies, but also new challenges related to freedom of expression, such as resolving the credit card issues and responding to the new Cybercrime Treaty. The Cybercrime Treaty situation I've mentioned before in my previous video regarding this kind of, stifling of expression is a massive, massive rabbit hole, and I still want to do an entire video on that to give people sort of a very dumb but very watered down and surface level understanding of what they're sort of combating it for. Is that the Cybercrime Treaty, even though it is not fully accepted globally as a UN treaty, it is sort of one of those situations where Yamada and several other people are kind of concerned that it'll have a similar situation as the Texas SB 20 situation that we're currently facing.
Yeah, I recently spoke about that.
It includes an article that is about protecting children, but depending on how it's implemented, it could stifle artistry. It could stifle creativity and, yes, impact manga and anime as a whole. Again, it is one of the situations where there is stipulations within it that sort of restrict it to real children, which is a good thing, but again, it's how it's sort of implemented could have impact. And Yamada,
he's mincing words lightly on this one, because Okay, I'm not a lawyer, but I have enough back history of reading laws and everything since I was young. I even spent weeks with lawyers learning how to read this stuff. And sometimes you end up looking at stuff for regulations, laws, whatever, and you look at it. And the one thing that I find bad about the SB 20 situation is it's worded too vaguely. It is too loose and too broad. It's where they want to cover the thing where it is a narrow subsect for the good. They're wanting to actually take care of children, people who are trafficked, everything like that. I mean, they're trying to focus on the good, but unfortunately when it comes to that, you need to use like a 4-point brush, fine tip. You need to circle over it really lightly. You don't reach for the 40-point brush and dip it into the bucket of paint and paint the fence with it. It's not going to look good. It's going to eliminate everything, and you're just going to piss everybody off.
And several other people are concerned about that. And again, I might make a whole video on that. It's a very difficult one to kind of discuss because there's so much details that sort of get lost in translations from what people in Japan are sort of saying about it. But anyways, that's another story. Regarding the new cybercrime treaty, which I've been tackling almost single-handedly, former Prime Minister Kishida will now join forces with me. This follows his strong response to my question at the House of Councilors Financial Affairs Committee when he stated freedom of expression, such as in manga and anime, is an important right guaranteed by the Constitution, and we want to proceed with the treaty negotiations in a way that does not unduly restrict freedom of expression. And why I'm really kind of including this paragraph, even though I'm not going to talk about the cybercrime treaty specifically, is this does kind of show that aspect that they're committed, even with the whole situation with the UN treaty, they're committed to protecting freedom of expression. And again, this whole focus group, they're committed to the idea of preventing things like, again, the credit card companies from stifling that freedom of expression. That's how committed they are. Again, it's a sign they're sick and tired of it. This is why it gets me so excited. These are the folks that have boots on the ground and they're getting stuff done. This isn't Andrew on a YouTube video going, oh my gosh, the credit card company is attacking us again. It doesn't do anything. Me yelling on a video about how I hate the credit card companies for doing this doesn't change anything. It gets awareness out there, and hopefully some people will kind of together push back, but nothing's going to happen until somebody like this, these group members, get together and they say, people are sick of this stuff. I keep getting messages from people saying this is a bad thing. Let's get this done. And again, based on the fact that Yamada has already gone to Visa already and said, what the hell are you doing? And he got the runaround. It's led.
Of course he got the runaround, because of course it's like, you can't just take somebody who is in the anime and VTubing and all of these spheres. Somebody who goes to Anime Expo or like Offkai, or you can't be one of us going up to them and asking them, what are you doing? Because they see you as just some dorky weeb who is a small subsect of the entire world population, and they don't care. They are able to move away. They're able to shut it off. It's a minor percentage of their revenue stream. They don't really care. However, the one thing that they do understand is the majority of dollars, which is why this whole thing with the Japanese lawmakers is coming in, is they managed to find governmental backing, which is going to put them on notice, because when you suddenly have an entire thing where an entire country gets up in arms about it, if all of a sudden Japan were to decide to eliminate Visa and MasterCard processing services, they would have to build their own in their own country, for their own networks, for their own international commerce, everything like that. That's a big job. That's monumental. But this also basically says the Japanese are going to put their money where their mouth is. And they'll do it. Because that would immediately cause an entire shift in money, because all of a sudden that percentage that they figured they could throw away with and not care, all of a sudden is generating revenue somewhere else to a competitor. And for Visa and MasterCard, that is something they do not want. They really do not want. I mean, you could even go and look up interviews that have actually happened in Congress, in United States Congress, when the heads of Visa and MasterCard got pulled in with regards to their processing rules and percentages and how much money they actually make on their processing and the levels at which different businesses get. And they got down into the nitty gritty, and they didn't have a very good look.
To this, it's led to them having to take governmental action to stop this crap from happening. And that, again, is what needs to happen, because obviously things aren't changing. And these companies are being impacted, and expression is being impacted. And there's a lot of impact that's happening that's not really necessarily being broadcast. In a lot of cases, a lot of creators are being very careful about what they do because they're afraid of that happening to them. And that's the other problem. I mean, it was pretty visible with the whole situation with Pixiv. People having to change what they create because they don't want to be impacted by it. But again, this is action being taken. He concludes with, "We will intensify our efforts to engage with the government and deliver solid results." This guy right here. This guy right here. Thank you. Thank you. This is, again, what needed to happen, unfortunately. This is what, unfortunately, because they kept being pushed, this is what had to happen. They had to have this group come together and say, we need to take this to the government. We have to take this to the Diet. Action has to be taken. What action that is, that's a question mark. I think they've kind of stated before, there's a lot of like provisions and whatnot that these credit card companies have, a lot of access that they have, that could be revoked. They could put in stipulations, they could put in fines, they could put a lot of stuff into it. And I think it's really going to come down to a case-by-case basis of them going directly, the government itself going directly to Visa and saying, why this happen? Explain. Find out why. Otherwise, it's not going to happen, but you might not be able to do business with us anymore. And again, that was sort of what a lot of people were saying.
Yeah, kind of like what I just said.
That a lot of these companies need
yeah,
to
they
turn
could cut
to
it off.
domestic providers like JCB and just focus on them. By the way, that is the latest update, what's going on with the government and government officials regarding, again, the whole situation with the credit card companies. Again, I will continue to keep an eye on it. I've been pretty much keeping a hawk eye on Yamada himself, as again, I think a lot of what he's doing is sort of at the forefront of it, but I think it's sort of a good positive sign amidst all of the coverage of the negative impacts that they're having on these companies. Again, like the recent issue that came up with Surugaya. But anyways, I'll keep an eye on it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, found it informative. If you did, hit the like button down below, comment, let me know what you think of this whole situation. Do you think it's a nice positive sign? Do you think that stuff will get done? Do you think Yamada is just trying to get in good with people so he can get elected again? Let me know. And again, if you guys are interested in the whole situation with the treaty, let me know. Again, I might push forward that video covering that whole situation. Again, it's a lot to dig through. The whole thing with the treaty itself is it's not just Japan. It's, again, it's a UN thing, and so a lot of people have their own opinions. Even in the United States, we have a lot of people are sort of pushing back against it for different reasons. But again, obviously for my coverage of anime and manga and content, my focus is more on that stuff. But
yeah, he pretty well wrapped that one up. Yeah, I definitely agree. Some of these things are a bit different. I mean, there's a bunch of other things that could happen. Could always be different. But of course, if you enjoyed his thing, definitely give him a like, a comment, sub. Give him a good look over. Okay. Let's see here. Alrighty. Now, with all of that, he is kind of right a little bit, but there are a few other things, because there are numerous other processors that are out there in the world, and, you know, things can always change, things can always be different, things could actually be the same. You know, you never know, never know. So, of course, I wanted to move on to a nice, lovely thing with regards to Men's Health Awareness Month. Definitely an important thing, because, of course, new Shoe on Head dropped. So let's definitely take a peek at what Shoe's got to be talking about. It's been a while.
What do they want? Money? Status? Fast, expensive cars?
Oh, hell yeah, brother.
What is the ultimate male fantasy? Is it fame? Fortune?
Some men, yeah.
3 hot chicks at once?
Overrated. Okay, yes, I've mentioned it before, I'm a Christian. Been here. Done this. Before. In my earlier years. Overrated. Do you know how much work that is? To please multiple women at the, in your life, in that same time frames and everything. It's work. Oh man, it's work. It's work even keeping one woman happy, let alone 3. Oof.
Once? Haha, hell yeah, brother. No, according to men on the internet, it's something a little more simple. This is literally just a fetish.
And right there, I completely effing disagree. Okay, I talked about this before in earlier times, maybe a couple of weeks ago. My wife she broke her leg. She was in a wheelchair. I had to take care of her literally every day for like 3 months until she was finally able to be cleared to be able to try to start walking again. This ain't a fetish. If you love them and they love you in return, this is literally the most wholesome you can get. And anyone who says otherwise is just a freak.
I fucking hate men so much. Men are why we can't have nice things.
Oh, cope.
As I was working on an upcoming video, I made the terrible mistake of logging onto Twitter, where I saw this post. A montage from the anime Josie, the Tiger, and the Fish, a movie about a college student who's assigned to take care of a paraplegic girl, and spoiler, eventually they fall in love. Many men were yearn posting in the replies of this tweet and talking about how they wish to fall in love and would love a relationship like this, while many others, mostly women, were absolutely f***ing disgusted at this. Why would a bunch of men be fantasizing about being with a woman in a wheelchair? Seems pretty creepy and predatory, right?
Yeah, like I said before, no. There's a lot of work entailed with regards to somebody in a wheelchair. However, when it comes down to it, you're focusing not so much on all of the things that are eroticism or basically somebody who calls this toxic is just goon-brained.
Also just unrealistic and problematic. Well, in this video, we are going to be talking about why so many men resonated to that clip and this movie, and why so many people are so confused as to why. We are also going to be reading some absolutely unhinged tweets, as usual, to get
Yay with the unhinged tweets, thank you.
to the bottom of why such a wholesome post turned into, once again, another battlefront for the ongoing, never-ending gender war. Men versus women, women versus men, the male loneliness epidemic, the female loneliness epidemic, the dealing with dating apps. Do men prefer thin women or curvy women? Brunettes or blondes?
Dude, everybody has a preference. Everyone has a preference. And that goes for everybody on the spectrum of every single which way. And that's why I say when it comes to people's things, don't yuck their yum. We don't know exactly how it goes. And as a Christian, just try to follow things. I mean, we're all sinners. We all do things. We have to remember to forgive ourselves, forgive others, and ask forgiveness for being gooned out sometimes. I mean, we listen to the dark voices in our own heads. We say things that we shouldn't. We do things that we shouldn't. We need to provide ourselves grace as well as asking the forgiveness. It doesn't mean we have to forget everything that happened, but we need to give ourselves leeway. But there are other people in the world that sometimes it's a bridge too far, and you have to accept that.
Do women like dad bods or fit men? Do they like beards or clean shaven? Oh yeah, that reminds me. Let's quickly get into today's sponsor, Henson Shaving. You ever just accept that some products are just garbage? Like for years I thought ripping your tights on the first wear was just a part of being a human woman. We just accepted that. That's just how it is.
I'll accept
sweetie.
letting her do
But
her
that
grift.
shouldn't be how it is. It's a bad design. And that's why I
Everybody
like
gotta
Henson
earn.
Shaving. Because if you've ever used a multi-blade razor, you're probably sick of the irritation.
Honestly, I checked out the price
razor
on these.
burn,
They're,
the overpriced blades. And you
not
probably
exactly
think,
cheap for a
"That's
one-time
just the way
thing,
it
but
is."
hey.
But it doesn't have to be how it is. Thanks to Henson Shaving. Henson Shaving is on a mission to improve shaving, with no gimmicky subscriptions or moisturizing strips, but with real innovation.
Hey man, I'm not gonna lie. If somebody bought me that, even through Throne or something, I don't care. I'd give it a shot. Or heck, if all of a sudden, pop off and get large enough, I'd take a sponsorship for it and I'd probably use it every frickin' day.
And a focus on your skin's health. What really sets Henson apart is their engineering, with their Henson AL-13 safety razor being manufactured in an aerospace machine shop that built parts for the International Space Station. This precision allows the blade to extend just 1/1000th of an inch beyond the shave plane, less than the thickness of a human hair. The razor prevents any bouncing or skipping, resulting in an irritation-free shave every time. And here's the best part. Once you invest in a Henson razor, it's a lifetime purchase. The only thing you'll need to replace are the blades, which literally cost only 10 cents each. So once you own the razor, you'll be spending like $3 to $5 on blades, compared to the ongoing cost of buying expensive plastic cartridges. Henson's store offers a variety of colors and even a titanium version, so you can pick the razor that best fits your
Graph
style.
corn.
So if you're tired of razor burn and overpaying for blades, now is the perfect time to make the switch. Just head over to hensonshaving.com/shoe
All the
and
corny-
add both a Henson razor and
corny
the 100
graph.
blades to your car, and then enter code SHOE at checkout to get the 100 blades for free with your purchase. Your skin, your wallet, and your environment will thank you. Big thanks to Henson Razor for sponsoring this video, and thank you, the viewer, for not skipping the ad. You didn't skip the ad, right? Now let's get back to the video.
That's the
Now, I
unhinged.
am not an anime connoisseur. In fact, I basically know nothing about anime. I am probably the most tourist of all the tourists.
And we wouldn't mind her being a tourist because she actually mentioned VTubing Avatar. Hashtag when?
Yeah, hi. I have a question. Was the upskirt shot necessary in order to advance the plot? I watched Pokemon and Sailor Moon when I was a kid, and a few years ago I watched Beastars on Netflix. Legoshi, best boy. Not a furry, by the way. And honestly, that's about it for my anime consumption. Unless you're counting VTubers. If you're counting VTubers, I watch a lot of anime. But because of this clip going viral, I watched Josie the Tiger and the Fish, and, well, I thought it was a good movie. I recommend watching it. I thought it was a really cute, good story. I only cried a little bit, and I completely understood what the tweet meant by calling it the average male fantasy. So, what was wrong with it? Why did this clip go so viral in such a negative way? Why were thousands of people angry at this post? Well, let us dilly-dally no longer and read some of these angry replies to get a better understanding of what the issue is, shall we?
Oh, yeah.
Wholesome male fantasy, and it's fetishizing a disabled girl for him to control.
Yeah, control. Moving on.
Oh no. They think, oh god, why? Always vulnerable, always happy, always needs you. Pretty perverted. Where are these fan fictions coming from? There were like hundreds of tweets just like this. Why did they see a cute montage of a happy couple, a man and a woman happy, together? I know, unheard of. Why did they see that and then immediately come to these conclusions? Like, as someone who actually watched the movie, Josie is not always happy, and she's absolutely not portrayed as some, like, vulnerable, ooh-woo, sex doll waifu. She's boisterous, she kind of has a foul mouth, she's very sassy and headstrong. She like straight up calls him her servant, but she was also very depressed. She basically never left her house. She was basically a girl failure. As a former girl failure, I love to see representation in media. But
Good. Good. Because thank you for calling out all of the things that my waifu constantly was mad about.
they actually show her disability, like, not in a good way. Like, they don't romanticize it, they don't sugarcoat it. And I noticed, unlike a lot of movies, unlike a lot of romance movies, at least like the Hallmark kind, where it's like the stuffy male lead learning to live life from the quirky, cute female lead, he's already got his shit together. And she learns to live life from him. He encourages her to live her dreams, and in return, he learns to live life in a completely different way. And I thought that was really cool and sweet. Also, the animation was really good. Is anime good? Have I been sleeping on anime this entire time? His fantasy is that she becomes permanently disabled and helplessly dependent on him, but can still make him a sandwich. Sounds about right. Oh my god, after watching the movie, these tweets are even more insane. But even putting the movie aside, just seeing that like cute montage out of context, where the fuck are they getting this? These are very clearly just two happy people. But because the caption was the average male fantasy, their mind immediately goes to the darkest, worst faith interpretation of this. The problem is these people can't see any humanity in men. They can't see any humanity in humanity in general. Average male fantasy equals girlfriend with no agency who's completely physically dependent on you and forced into blanket subservience and compliance. Sounds about right. You males are weird for fetishizing physically disabled women.
Yeah, sorry. Blanket subservience? Dude. The person who's being a sub in the relationship during that time, the one who is being the servant, is the guy. Because if you were to look at it with somebody who needs all of that help, the man has to be the servant the whole time. He serves her. It's not the other way around. Talk about twisted.
Average male fantasy is having a physically disabled girl that they can abuse however they want. Got it.
Oh, talk about disingenuous take. Wow.
Not to be that guy, I'm gonna be that guy. The infantilization of the physically disabled here is a little, dare I say, ableist. The implication here that people in wheelchairs cannot find love, and if they do, the person who loves them literally just loves them because they can't run away. Weird.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with her. She's gonna do that copy right there. Yeah, that's weird. Weird.
Weird. Average men can't even be nice to their healthy and normal girlfriend. What makes you think they'll be able to handle a disabled person as their lover? Whoa. Normal? What do you mean by normal?
Normal.
These people are just so ableist, chat. Can you believe it? Chat? Chat? I don't even live stream. Who's chat? I'm disabled.
Watching too many
He
VTubers.
says, I love you because you're you, and you make my days happier. So what if I have to drive you places or help you with cooking and cleaning? I would have done that anyway. Disability has nothing to do with it. I love you. Ma'am, I don't know how to tell you this, but, your boyfriend is a rapist. Sorry you had to find out this way. You show this as fantasy because it's not true for the majority of men who participate in abuse of disabled people. No, the fantasy is the woman appreciates his efforts to make her happy. Stop lying and abusing women and the disabled.
Brother. Oh, I swear, chat, I'm gonna glow.
Your meds, schizo. You don't even know that f***ing guy. What do you mean stop abusing women and the disabled? Bitch, who are you? Also, the majority of men participate in abuse of disabled people. Are you okay? The majority of men are not abusers. That is a very, very small minority of men. The majority of men are men that just wake up, take a shit, get out of bed, take a shower, go to work, come home, and wait for GTA 6 to come out. That
Waiting for GTA 6 is real. Oh, that is so real, bro.
is the majority of men. Men commit 95% of all rape, but okay. Barging into the romance section of Barnes & Noble like, attention everyone! Rape! Where is that coming from? So close, this is fetish content. Ah yes, the dirtiest, most taboo of all fetishes. A happy relationship. Honestly, in 2025, that might be true. Oh, you want a wife and kids? You sick fuck. But this is literally just a perverted fantasy, LMAO.
Well, honestly, they want to actually believe that's so because, of course, having a wife and several kids and having a happy life, actually treating everybody with respect, yeah, that's obviously a perverted fantasy.
You think it's a perverted fantasy because, how do I put this nicely? You are a pervert. Literally seeing a cute montage of a male and female character having fun together, being in love together, and being like, rape! He's a rapist! This is a fetish! Are these people okay? Stop watching porn. Wait, this is a woman. Okay, stop reading Taken by the Werewolf Billionaire. Or whatever the fuck you read. I swear to God, some of the shit women read would make the most depraved internet gooner blush.
Ooh, I really have to go here. Oh my god. Roll back time to when I was dating my waifu. Yeah, when I first met her, when we first started dating, I used to work at a Barnes & Noble. No joke. Okay, so all of a sudden I ended up, of course, back then, really into books. Had to ask her what her favorite book series was, and oh my god, I was not prepared. Oh god. It was A.N. Roclair, also known as Anne Rice. She did a 3-book series regarding Sleeping Beauty. And dude, those books, I mean, 50 Shades has nothing on those books. It's where the entire listing on those books, if you decide to actually pick those up and read it, dude, even standard Gooners cannot even compare to those books. So if you're looking for good women Goon material to actually sit and read, dude, check those out if you really want to go there. And like I said, I'm not going to stop you. If you're a Christian, you might have to repent after you get done reading them, but hey, that's on you. That's with your own convictions. Don't say I led you into it. Because everybody has free will. They have their own choices. If you read it and you get convicted, that's on you.
Or so I've been told. This is literally just a fetish. Okay, listen, I'm not gonna pretend there's nobody out there who's like, she can't run away, she has no legs. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend there's nobody out there who has a crippled, disabled fetish, okay? I've been on the internet for 20 years. I've been on DeviantArt. I've seen shit you wouldn't believe. But the majority
I was there when the old magic was written with DeviantArt.
of people, probably most, if not all the people responding to this, do not have a cripple fetish, okay? In fact, her being in a wheelchair basically has nothing to do with it. Much like how females coom over, like, vampires or, like I said before, the billionaire werewolf fantasy.
Hashtag Twilight sucks.
This is just the average male fantasy distilled down to its most extreme. So what is the average male fantasy? The average male fantasy is the fantasy of both men and women alike. It is simply to love and to be loved. But more specifically, the male fantasy is to be a protector and a provider for those that they love. Put a pin in this because we are going to come back to this.
Of course you will, because honestly, when it comes down to a lot of that, yeah, the male fantasy these days is being able to have a wife that he can respect, that will take care of his house, so that he does not have stress when he goes out into the world to make that bread, to bring it home, to go get the bag and be able to provide. So that he has his safe space that was created by the woman he trusts. That's the fantasy. Wow. So controversial.
In a big way, trust me. The average male fantasy is being a globally known terrorist.
Nope.
The average male fantasy is that a woman who isn't fat. The average male fantasy is actually job security. You know what? These guys may have a point here. Pedophile alert. Men want disabled child wives. Average male fantasy is a disabled child. More proof that men are pedos.
Yeah, this is where people, I've talked about this before. People are conflating lolly models when, I mean, if I remember correctly for this anime, they were actually of age in that wheelchair. They were supposed to be scripted as somebody in their 20s. This is the moment where I actually say, okay, go back and watch the first Alien movie with Sigourney Weaver when she was in her 20s. And look at what she wore for outfits. And then draw her as an anime. She will probably look close to what you would consider a lolly if you were to go there. Wow.
That's a little girl. This is weird. So, first of all, she's literally older than the guy. The guy is 22 and she is 24. In anime years, he is practically hag maxing. And
Yep.
yes, she may be physically disabled, but aren't all men mentally disabled in their own special way?
True. I will not argue. True.
At least the ones in my audience. They will freely admit this. Maybe
Yes, we will.
she, an older woman, is taking advantage of this sensitive young man. Have you ever thought of that?
Even those of us who are actually what you would consider ancient on the internet, yes, we will agree.
She looks like an 11-year-old child. Where are her breasts? First of all, really weird way to say that. She looks like a child. Show me her titties.
Yeah, now that's gooned. That is gooner brained. Like, seriously, you have to fetishize an anime character. Like, okay, it's clear you play Genshin Impact or other gacha games. Clearly, you know, because or you even play Stellar Blade. I mean, you must be a Stellar Blade enjoyer because that's what the woman is supposed to look like. Got it.
Also, I love how, like, when anime women have huge boobs, it's disgusting, Coomer brain or whatever. But if the anime woman has small boobs, she is a child and you're a chimo. Can't fucking win. Also, if she had big
Yep.
boobs, they'd absolutely be like, wow, look at this sexualization of the disabled. Also, you know, like, adult women can be flat-chested, right? Like, that actually exists in real life. Like, adult human women can have small boobs. We love all titties here on the Shoe on Head channel. All titties is good titties. End of story. Women fantasy. A boyfriend with depth and the loving, soft, deeply caring side of them. Men's fantasy. 12-year-old anime girl who looks and speaks like a toddler. Also notice how she's literally the shape and size of a child. Yuck. Have you people ever seen a child? No. You're all childless.
No.
Silly me. She's not even that short. She's just sitting. See, like when they're laying side by side, she's
Yeah.
like a full-grown adult woman. Why did
Okay, from that size, from what I could see, I mean, if he was approximately close to about 5'10", 5'8", I mean, we're talking Asian heights here. That's technically tall. She would be probably closer to like 5'4", 5'6", you know? That's an adult. No lie.
these people look at this and immediately think of child rape? Go to therapy. And listen, I know with anime it can get a little weird, right? Like, excuse me, Poo Poo Pee Pee Chan is 2,000 years old, and this is Poo Poo Pee Pee Chan. This does not even look like a child. This looks like a cute woman. This is
I wish you would have used Sasami from Tenchi Muyo. From Tenchi Muyo OVA. Because if you go into OVA, yes, there's some pretty interesting things. Of course, yes, it's a harem anime, of course. But if you were to go into, like, I think the second series, there is a spot where Sasami, the character in the whole thing, if you only watch Tenchi Universe, you only see her as the lolly model for the whole thing. Because in the Tenchi Universe saga, during that one, she's supposed to be a child, so we just kind of move on. However, if you watch the OVA series, the lore was entirely different, where Sasami, who looks like a little girl, is actually like the oldest of all of them. She's like thousands of years old. So yeah, that's one of those things. The artwork doesn't match the age. That's just common thing, but of course normie brain can't handle.
It's like a random rant, but I feel like there are no more cute women nowadays. You know what I mean? You have all like
Oh, I'd like to add, the reason why I mentioned the series 2 of the OVA is because there is a scene where it shows that Lolly model, she all of a sudden changes her entire, like, goes into an adult form, where all of a sudden it starts going into that path. Where when she's in her small model, she's playing off being a child. Everybody looks at her as a child. Yeah, perfectly fine and wholesome. But then in the series 2, she shifts into a woman who looks like she's in her mid to late 20s with all accoutrements. So if you do go there, look respectfully, chat.
Insta baddies, the e-thoughts, the e-girls, the muscle mommies, the boss babes, the boy babes. But I feel like every woman is
Femboy.
hot now. Which, by the way, I don't think is healthy for the male psyche whatsoever. You shouldn't wake up and be able to scroll through pictures of, like, the hottest woman you've ever seen in your life, like, 20 times before you've had, like, your morning cup of coffee. You shouldn't log in and immediately be one-shotted by 1010s all day, as if that wouldn't make you go insane, as if that wouldn't make you crash out.
Yeah, you would if all of a sudden that was all there is and they all turned you away. I mean, hey, I'm glad I don't have to deal with the dating nonsense in 2025. I feel for my bros who are still stuck out there in the world having to deal with the dating cycle. The only thing I can say to you as an advice of somebody who is a dad, get off the internet. Do not use dating apps. Do your thing, work your grind, go to the gym, pay attention to your life, work on getting your own bag, work on building your own stuff up. A woman might put themselves in your path, and then that's where you get to judge. Don't chase. Let them approach. It's their world. Let them work it. Because they created this nonsense. They don't want you approaching. They have to make the first move. And if they don't have the stones to make the first move, then yeah, they can become a Passover person. Or as other different societies, leftover women, you know, hit the wall, you know, that kind of stuff. Because that's the way things have turned since the 90s to now. The women have to make the first move. Because social media and everything else has basically screwed it up for the rest of the dating scene. And most men don't do the dating apps. You're going to find nothing but ads, OF bots, or somebody looking for you to pay them the bag just to look at photos. So yeah, focus on yourself. Make it look good. And if she approaches, then evaluate. Maybe give it the time of day.
Like back in the day, you'd probably see like one fine dame on your bus ride to work, and you'd think about her for 40 years until the day you die. That's how it used to be. That's how it should be. Now every woman is like a crazy, hot, unobtainable Instagram goddess with the fattest of ass. Zoomers don't know how good we had it. You'd go to Blockbuster, and the 21-year-old cashier behind the counter would be the most adorable woman you've ever seen. No Botox, no lip filler, just a pure soul, full of joy and whimsy. And now
During my player days. Yeah, hit that.
women are full of hate and SSRIs. But they're hot. They're hotter than they've ever been. They're hotter and...
Yeah, after closing time in a Blockbuster. Yeah, Blockbuster doesn't exist anymore, but I remember them carpets. I got to see them from, 3 inches up.
more depressed than they've ever been in history. Sad. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, anime. I didn't take my Vyvanse today, could you tell? Men's fantasy. A big titty woman with the face of a 16-year-old that is useful for cooking, cleaning, and sex. Women's fantasy. Gets treated like a queen and a man who keeps tracks of our periods so he can take care of us.
Yeah, that's a bit much. There's, that sounds like projection on that last sentence, because there's also a couple of other goon brain things attached to that last one.
I think I speak for a lot of women here when I say our fantasies do not, in fact, include men tracking our periods. Personally, if my husband was like, honey, just a reminder, you're in your luteal phase, I'm taking the kids. Men like to pretend they want this, and then they beat their wife when dinner isn't ready or their son when he's misbehaving. First of all, I'm sorry that happened to you, but there are in fact good men out there. I've seen them.
Most times when that doesn't happen, we just come in, sit down on the recliner, turn on the TV, and stew about it. Just saying.
May be in this very audience.
Then 15 minutes later, we get up and cook our own damn food.
Sorry, I couldn't keep a straight face. This is the Shoe on Head audience. You're all gremlins. Male fantasy equals a woman that can't run away from him. A woman that's dependent on him. Interesting. When men are involved, it's basic survival instinct to assume the worst. Men are guilty until they prove themselves innocent. You know?
Yeah, that's what they like to treat. Guilty until innocent. And that also includes all of the accusations of the internet too, doesn't it?
But, I take my opinions back on free speech. I changed my mind. No more free speech. No more free speech until you bitches learn to behave. A woman's fantasy is a man who won't rape her, and a man's fantasy is raping a woman.
What?
I'm sorry, where is the rape, ma'am? Maybe that's how you see it, because you're brainwashed to hate men. So true. I hate how— But in reality, women are the real demons here. Oh, god damn it. We just want a happy relationship. Is it so much to ask for? Yes.
Yeah, it's a bit much.
It is. Oh look, more misogynistic gooner fantasy slop written by misogynistic gooner men. This is why 70% of anime is garbage. So here's the thing, that misogynistic gooner fantasy slop written by misogynistic gooner men was actually written by Saiko Tanabe, a woman. A woman wrote this story. And I feel like a very important—
A woman who clearly looks older than me. And probably has a traditional family. Especially because she's Japanese.
detail everyone is sleeping on when they covered this was the fact that this is very much the female fantasy as well. A man loving you for who you are despite your flaws, literally sweeping you off your feet and carrying you around on adventures, helping you live out your dreams, face your fears, and supporting you through the good and bad times. You're going to sit here and tell me that's not the female fantasy too? Is this not the basic female fantasy? Is this not the knight in shining armor coming to rescue you and falling in love with you? Why on earth are so many women so mad at this? Are men now the hopeless romantics? Are men now the ones yearning for a fairy tale romance? Is this why all the Disney remakes are like, she's not gonna be saved by the prince, she's a strong, independent woman? Meanwhile, men still want to be the prince, men still want to be the knight in shining armor. Men are like, I will save you from your monotonous 9-to-5 job. I will give you a house and babies. And women are like, no, I must be an actuarial consultant. Be gone, vile misogynist. Is that what is occurring here? Also, that aside—
Honestly, base take. Because it seems real.
There literally is a gender-swapped version of this story called Perfect World. It is a manga. Mango? I don't know. Do not come for me, weebs. Men will statistically
You get a pass.
leave their wives and partners the moment they find out they're disabled or have a life-threatening condition. You're right, it is a fantasy. Actually, that study was debunked by the authors themselves, who admitted they did the math wrong. It's actually not much higher, but then again, even if it was, and it happens, I've seen it happen to people, it's terrible. Marriage should be through sickness and through health. But that's not really the point here. And the fact that so many people are focusing on the wheelchair part of this just proves that they just don't get it. The ones of pure mind and pure soul get it. But these fucking semen demons out here, they don't get it. But not all semen demons. The amount of people in comments who just don't get that men want a cute, loving girlfriend is beyond me. They call them creeps for wanting actual love and not a girl boss who only wants your money.
Thank you, Scoo-chan. I will admit I don't exactly agree with Scoo on a lot of things with regards to even her content, where she goes with things, but she's a lovely person, I can tell. She tries where she can. But yeah. Thank you for calling out, Scoo. Thank you.
Ah, thank you, a sane person. Hopefully the replies aren't full of people calling her a pick-me. Pick-me
Yep, that's exactly what happened. I'm waiting for the anime racism.
alert, least obvious pick-me. Me, pick me please. Hope he picks you, sis. Pick me, pick me, pick me. An incel could have written this. Fuck. Why are so many VTubers either pick-me's or racist? You mean why do so many female VTubers disagree with you? Why so many aren't towing the mainstream liberal feminist NPC line? Because they can. See, the most powerful weapon women have against other women is social ostracization. You don't want to be seen as a pick-me or a racist, so you keep your mouth shut in order to survive in female social circles. But in the cases of VTubers, virtual YouTubers, they're basically anonymous. They can say anything they want. They're basically wearing a mask.
True.
They're free from the chains of the eternal HR Longhouse. But apparently, even being anonymous online does not save them, because they still get doxxed for
Yep.
simply not hating men.
Yep.
Lovely. Maybe I should save this rant
Oh, she noticed. Thank you.
for a different video someday. Moving on. Men are why we can't have nice things, by the way. First of all, men make all the things. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Also, I just realized it was a man saying that. It was a whole ass man saying men are why we can't have nice things. I don't deserve this trophy. This is for you, sir. This is for you. I'm not worthy. Listen, I make women jokes. I'm very critical of feminism and propaganda aimed at women. But you will never catch me in a million years saying some shit like women are why we can't have nice things. I have a mom. I have female family members. I have female friends. Maybe one day I'll have a daughter. Women make the world a beautiful place, and like men, can be flawed and deserve criticism, like anyone else. But there's something genuinely so cucked about people who put down their own gender or race. Oh god, race. Self-hating white people. Don't get me started on self-hating white people. White people are so evil. I hate being white. White people can't dance.
Wow. Yep. I have my own fatigue with those people. But it's where it comes down to being prideful, and yeah, it's best not to be prideful. Realize we're all human. We all make mistakes. We all screw up. But yeah, it doesn't give everybody the right to hate on each other for things that they cannot change. Because trust me, where I live, if I walk down the street, I will probably run into a few things that people just have their own stereotypes. Yeah. I'm actually going to say it. Occasionally, if I'm in a different part of town where there's a lot of Mexican food, I don't speak a lick of Spanish, but they'll all start talking Spanish to me. Oh, P.S. I'm native.
White people food is so gross. You're not getting into Wakanda, bro. You're not getting invited to the cookout. Enough. But yeah, women were not the only ones who had a problem with this. There were a lot of men who didn't quite relate to this being the average male fantasy. It's fine to love the disabled. I didn't need to remind you that. But you glorify it? This anime is certainly Marxist propaganda.
Oh,
The
wow.
movie is about him taking a job as her caretaker, and when he learns of her dreams, he makes it his mission to help her dreams come true. So it is Marxist propaganda to help a disabled person pursue their dreams? Yeah, it's woven in. Empathy is the target of propaganda. Marxism is when girl in wheelchair. I love this. Empathy is the target of propaganda. Every piece of media that makes you feel empathy is communism. Political brain rot. If you're at the point where you see this and you're thinking of communism, you need to log off. You are unwell. I'm sorry.
You
but
need
when I
to see your
reproduce,
therapist.
I don't want a high probability
your
of my
meds.
offspring being mentally or physically retarded. We need a better class of incels whose bar is higher than the retarded. She's not retarded, she has a spinal injury that's not genetic. Also, what is this LARP? I love how everyone is just kind of having like a normal conversation about this clip, and this guy just comes out of nowhere like, I would never put my pure white seed in such a vile creature. Like, you absolutely know this guy has a non-white girlfriend. They all do, all these like I hate white people women always have white boyfriends. All these I hate non-white people boys always have non-white girlfriends. I don't know what it is, but I've seen it too many times. I guarantee you when this man logs off of his Black Sun Roman statue Twitter account, he's clapping Latina booty cheeks. My fantasy is not being a simp, but okay. Fellas, is it simping to love a woman? Nah, this is not the male
Some people would say so. I'm just gonna say it. There are some brain dead people out there that will say to love a woman is simping.
fantasy. That man is a beta male. If she wasn't in a wheelchair, she would leave him for Chad. Fellas, is it beta to love a woman? This is not my fantasy. This is some gay shit, to be honest. Fellas, is it gay to love a woman? What no pussy does to a motherfucker. Brother, I've seen what pussy does to a motherfucker. And it's
I lived it.
far worse. The average male fantasy is taking care of their crippled wife. I don't think I've ever had that fantasy before. I thought it was gonna be about going on some quest to kill the dragon to win the princess or something. It is. That is the average male fantasy. But there are no dragons to slay. There are no princesses to save. But there is that little old lady in the grocery store who can't quite reach that top shelf. There's that heavy box the pretty girl you work with can't quite lift herself. There's that jar of tomato sauce your wife can't quite open. There's that Lego set your little son can't quite put together himself. Or there is this paraplegic girl who wants to see the ocean. This is the Princess and the Dragon story. And despite what many are told, men do have a lot of love to give. And they want some kind of excuse or mechanism to show that love. In a world where men expressing themselves is either seen as toxic or gay. And one way of expressing that love is solving problems. Men fucking love solving problems. I don't know what it is. They also love reading Wikipedia articles. The amount of times I walked over and my husband is reading a random fucking Wikipedia article about like the world's tallest buildings or like a random battle in World War II.
Let him do him. I don't do Wikipedia.
I didn't know if this was autism or what, but apparently it's a man thing. Anyway, yes, men love solving problems. And in a
We're hardwired to solve problems. We will find a problem even when we are single to solve the damn problem because we just want to make things better. Because down the road, it eliminates future problems. We don't like future problems. We try to eliminate stress. Honestly, if we don't eliminate all of the stress, it leads us to have heart attacks by like age 40. Look it up.
world that makes them feel useless, makes them feel like they have no purpose, men desperately feel like they need to prove their worth. They are desperately looking for a purpose in life. So it is not at all shocking to me that the modern young man is seeing a clip like this and longing for this. A lot of modern men don't have a chance to prove themselves, to make something of their lives. They don't have a chance to provide anything for anyone because they don't have anything to provide and they don't have anyone. They are doing everything their grandfathers did, but seeing none of the results. They're lost. What can they provide? And as I said earlier, her being in a wheelchair is the protector and provider instinct taken to a extreme. And yes, it is a fantasy, considering if you ask anyone who's actually in a wheelchair, they know it's not all butterflies and rainbows, and they know that it's hard on relationships. It can be difficult on their partner. But just like in the movie, it's not shown as butterflies and rainbows. Josie feels like a burden. But towards the end of the movie, the guy takes on that burden. Not because he gets something in return, but because it's his duty. Because it makes her happy, which makes him happy in return. Loyalty, duty, virtue, acts of service, big or small. Men live for that shit. And yes, these are stereotypes. Not everyone fits into these boxes, blah 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 blah. But for the most part, it's true. When many men look at this relationship, that is what they see. And a lot of modern women are looking at this relationship and being disgusted because, in a way, it's the complete inverse of the strong, independent woman they've been sold. They've been told they need.
Yeah, it's a thing because a lot of people have grown up with the fact that they're pretty well told they need to move on, get that bag, focus on themselves, and they don't need anybody else. But the real hard problem is when you all of a sudden become, you know, modernized things. They like to say, I mean, when does the wall hit? 30? 32? Something like that? I'm not exactly sure when all of a sudden you start hitting that hag range. Somebody can definitely like, comment, and subscribe and actually clear that up for me. Because, seriously, I don't know when they declare hag. Is that 30? I mean,
need to be. The modern woman crafted by modern Disney for modern audiences. Unlike the Hollywood crafted modern woman, this woman does need her man. She is not strong and she's not independent, at least physically. This doesn't mean she's like an empty vessel with no thoughts or freedom. No, in fact, in the movie, Josie does roll away from him a few times. It is a fantasy not because of a power imbalance, but because the man has a tangible purpose, and the woman is willingly and lovingly letting him fulfill that purpose.
Because I can depend on you. I know that if I ever feel frightened, I can just reach out to you.
Men simply want something good to die for, to make it beautiful to live. This manifests in a lot of ways, but the most common is having a loving partner and/or a family. Something unobtainable to many people nowadays. So yes, literally.
Last statistics I saw was over 54% of people feel this is unattainable. And for me, that just kind of kills me inside that there are that many people who are more focused on their own mental states that are horrible, thinking that they will never be able to go out and touch grass and they will never be able to achieve their dream. This is where I say, unfortunately, the way things tend to go, it's a tough situation. But people need to start making the first move again, and unfortunately, because the way the world was created, I call on women to actually finally step up on this one. I mean, it's the way the world got created. Men aren't exactly afraid of women, but they are afraid of making sure that they are not completely canceled just for looking a side glance at somebody. Going to the gym. You look across the room. Next thing you know, bam, something happens. And next thing you know, you're out of a job and you've lost your livelihood and everything's cascaded downward. We saw that in the last 10 years. I mean, there are other people all of a sudden that it got all out of hand. And of course, word travels fast, especially in guy circles, because everybody's bro is going to tell everybody's bro that, you know, that homie over there that da-da-da-da-da. Yeah. Word travels. Next thing you know, everybody's closed up shop. Everybody's focusing on themselves. And as far as it's concerned, why work to get the package? Why approach when all I got to do is look outside into the parking lot and see the advertisements for the OF and pay $6. That's how it goes. Things got to change. Women got to make their first step. Women got to make better choices. It's where we live today.
One of the most normal things ever is becoming a fantasy. Sad. Also, men will deny this, but they absolutely have a biological clock. It may not hit in your teens or your 20s, but one day you're going to have a dream. You have a little daughter making you pancakes with your wife in the morning, and you're not going to be able to get it out of your head. And that is the male biological clock. Everything you do,
Been there, done that, enjoyed it. My clock hit when I was 27. Not gonna lie.
money you make working that grating 9-to-5 job, it will all be for something bigger and more important than yourself one day. You will come home to a warm and happy home, greeted by people who care about you, and love you, and rely on you, and everything will make sense then. Until then, you'll just be on the internet, being called a misogynist, for wanting something bigger and more important than yourself, for wanting something beautiful and normal. And that is the average male fantasy. That and 3 hot chicks at once. Hell yeah, brother! Haha, you know what I'm saying? So that was that little video. Men in the comments, let me...
As I said again, way too much work. Way too much work. It's a fantasy for a reason.
Let me know, am I correct? Is that the average male fantasy? Or is it not that deep? Men and women in the comments, what is your fantasy? And no, I don't mean that. I don't want to hear about how you want to be crushed by a 12-foot futa. That is between you and God, not you and Shoe-on-Head. I mean, what is your ultimate dream? Do you want to travel the world? Do you want a nice big family one day? Do you want to own a farm? Do you want to live in a shed in the woods and make pipe bombs? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you soon with a new video.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome. But definitely give her a like. That was awesome, awesome work. And, of course, I'll probably comment at her later. But yeah, I wanted to catch up with another thing here in a moment, but you're going to have to give me a second. And I will be right back. I need to get another drink, so bear with me quick. Okay. Thanks for bearing with me there. Honestly, I quit doing setting up my sodas at my desk because, yeah, I didn't really feel like doing ASMR on my channel. Because, yeah, that's ASMR in my ears. So, let's see here. I was going to call back here to the Cinder situation, and we'll see exactly how this rolls here.
Name of Cinder? Cinder situation? Cinder. Cinder.
I'm inbred.
Now, we're talking about Cinder today. Now, if you don't...
I have never heard of Cinder until this controversy.
Her apology was one of the worst I've seen in recent memory.
It's just business. Fuck your business! These people were not just business! They were friends who had your back! You fucking snake! I hope you're happy! I hope you're fucking happy!
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Many of you are still reeling from the Gurra Gurra graduation. I'm sorry I just reminded you of such a traumatic event, but wipe those tears. There's probably used cum tissues you have on that desk, because you're not in this alone. Because this year has been terrible for VTubing fans. And I know, I'm a bit late to this one, but I wanted to wait till the dust had somewhat settled. And as we all know, I love to talk about subjects that have long since fossilized, of which I suddenly remember when dropping a fiber-filled viscous extremity into the toilet and make a video on it. Good luck with your appetite if you're eating whilst watching. I have warned you multiple times in the past.
Yep.
But this is probably the newest topic I wanted to talk about recently, and something that indirectly hit me with splash damage when it surfaced, as I had previously made another video about a VTuber that was perceived by many to be the most hated VTuber, and I basically went over why they may be viewed that way and their history, only for as soon as that video went live, I basically had my ass ran through, and that video was immediately labelled outdated, as I basically prematurely ejaculated because another VTuber was about to have a crusade launched against her due to her own actions. And it was everywhere.
Yeah.
It was talked about non-stop. She was even in that video I made, and I didn't even know. I just typed in VTuber to use as background footage before this even happened, and there it was, like a little voodoo curse. But all of this was about the VTuber Cinder, who I must clarify does own a part of GamerSupps, and I do have an active partnership with them, so I might be more cooked than the remains of people at Pompeii, who knows, we'll see. But this is an event that rocked the VTubing community to its core, affected many VTubers themselves and their careers, and the main person it involves is still radio silent to this day.
And how do I say this? When I first decided to go into content creation as a VTuber, and first ever of anything for debut, all of that, it was the day this dropped. Dude. How's that for frickin' timing? You know? It's like everything was all, you know, getting ready to go, getting ready to launch, get everything set up, and boom. Google Docky dropped. What do you do? I made the choice to pull the trigger anyway, because to me, it would have been considered my own personal failure to not pull the trigger and go live. Because if this is going to stop me, what else is going to stop me? Right?
And for good reason, as the things that occurred would certainly be hard to come back from, especially in the court of public opinion. This situation also involves a lot of document reading, which I saw a meme about on Instagram Reels, which totally didn't remind me about this whole situation.
They want to make an apology? Google Docky!
But before we get anywhere near the situation, we need to first know who Cinder is and her history.
People love watching VTubers. I think it's like, people just like watching cute anime girls.
Cinder is a VTuber that before all of this was actually one of the most popular indie VTubers. To the point where at the convention WeebCon, yes it does exist, I was just as surprised as you, she had a meet and greet where there were so many people, they had a line for the line to meet at. And she had a concert where people were losing their shit and one guy was recording with a DS for some reason. It actually surprised me that she is a VTuber that has done a sort of face reveal, and we actually got to see her IRL 3D model, but said excitement that surrounded her due to recent controversy has turned against her. But before any of this, Cinder had somewhat humble beginnings. Although the Cinder account on Twitch, YouTube and Twitter was made in 2020, before that she was known under a very different name, a name she was well known for, Tashi.mp3. Her content around that time was primarily ASMR content that most of you can't relate to, and probably bought into your delusions, like a date with your tsundere girlfriend.
Yeah, and that's why I previously mentioned I don't do ASMR. It's why I don't actually open my cans of soda at my desk anymore, because, yeah, that hits me.
And I love you and I wish I could be
Splash
your girlfriend.
damage.
Or even more unrealistic, your new girlfriend makes out with you after skipping class. I personally don't watch ASMR. I personally just listen to white noise before I go to sleep.
I have been approached by other ASMR VTubers for collab, and I'm like, no. Just no.
But I'm about to get really personal with you and share one of my favorite ASMRs.
Good. Okay. Are you ready? Sweet dreams, baby.
Ah, so soothing. She also apparently had one of those mics that are really expensive and makes it feel like they're entering your ear canal when they're speaking. If you don't know what I'm talking about and you're wearing headphones right now, you're about to get very uncomfortable, and it's basically like this. And for those of you not wearing headphones, you just didn't feel anything at all there. According to Cinder herself, she only actually started uploading this content after finding it, thinking it was cringe but thought she could do that, but wasn't completely sold on the idea until she opened a fortune cookie, telling her to go ahead with it.
I opened up my fortune cookie. My fortune said, ideas you may think are stupid ultimately lead to success. And I was like, this is a sign.
So probably next time you get a fortune cookie, follow it. It's not like she was trying to hide her past of doing ASMR or her past character. She actually still made these type of videos after changing to Cinder, and it was listed under her official channel as her ASMR content, and was even mentioned in one of her recent music videos, Smoke and Mirrors, which was launched a few weeks before her controversy, and came off as just ultimately ironic. But we first saw the mention of Cinder in 2020, when she created all these social media accounts, and later started streaming in 2021, and was able to carry her audience from her ASMR content and Twitter to watch her stream pretty regularly. But the Tashi phase of Cinder's career, although it was mainly ASMR, it was not to be underestimated. This gave her a start with her audience and gave her a foot in the door for her next stage in content, which was being a VTuber. But being a VTuber isn't that easy. Unless you want to make your VTuber model and art yourself, you may have to invest a lot of money to make your first VTuber model. And especially as an indie VTuber, you would need an audience to prove that money was worth investing. Unless you just want to gamble it and blind run it, I guess. But in 2021, Cinder had already made moves towards her goal of becoming a VTuber. She had already rebranded under the new name and began posting teasers and artwork of her character. But she did come across some difficulties, especially with getting her VTuber model. But even with this difficulty, she was still growing her audience and still streamed regularly with a placeholder for her VTubing model until her eventual official debut in July of 2022. The avatar that was presented in her first debut, the model was created by a creator called Nanolis, someone that would go on to create a lot of the models of most of the popular VTubers, and someone that would be involved later in the controversy Cinder faced. But the debut went pretty well, and it was probably down to Cinder's efforts building her audience previously, and the massive calcium cannons attached to her avatar. The modeling of those probably took a terabyte each. The debut stream peaked at 988 viewers. And 2 days later she would hit 10,000 followers on Twitch, and would finish that year with an average concurrent viewership of 1,000 viewers per Twitch stream, which is really good and places her in the top 1% of Twitch. This growth would continue across all of her platforms in 2023. She hit 100,000 subscribers on her main YouTube channel. People began seeing her regularly collaborating with other VTubers, to the point where they supposedly had their own name, Girly Pops. This included other VTubers like Numi, Bao, Yuzu, Vienna, and Tricky. But at this point she was integrated within the VTuber community, and her Fire Pups, the label she used for her supporters and fans, were growing day by day, and by the end of 2023 she was averaging 2,000 viewers on Twitch. She released her 2.0 model, also created by Nanolis, much to her community's delight, and once again, there was probably enough booba there to feed the entirety of Yemen and swallow up most people's GPU usage. She returned to ASMR every now and again on her main channel, showing she had not completely turned her back on her past, but uploads under her Tashi persona would seemingly cease around this time. 2024 was the same as usual, more growth, and she was averaging almost 3,000 concurrent viewers, something that probably assisted in her becoming a partial owner of Gamersubs along with her friend at the time, Shy Lily. And she also started showing up at VTuber convention panels along with other VTubing talent. But it's important to note that Cinder had a fairly clean reputation prior to her latest controversy. The only thing closest to controversy was with the whole Twitch thing, where some VTubers were unfairly banned to their appearance on stream, but in other areas of Twitch you can basically see softcore porn. But VTubers were being banned for seemingly the same appearance. Yeah, VTubers still somewhat have a 12-inch hate bone over Twitch over that. But until 2025, her record was somewhat clean, not a smear in sight, which is probably why when all of this was brought to light, many of her audience couldn't believe the person they supported for so long was capable of the things levied against her, with many people coming out with similar stories. But what happened?
That is fucking disgusting.
With content nowadays, especially within the streaming environment, many content creators have an online persona, many of which their viewers resonate with, only for most of said viewers to be severely disappointed when they learn the person they were watching for years isn't exactly like they were on camera or when they were streaming, which is normal. Most people will never be in
And right there is my whole thing that I have sworn to myself. With regards to personality, I am what I am. You get me. That's what you get. Because I am not going to fake a single thing. I will be honest with all of my chat. I will be honest with my audience that I get. And I will be grateful for every follow, everything I get, because without anyone in the audience, hey, you guys are the ones that make it worth it. So yeah, we do this.
A range of their favourite content creators, but this relates very much to the Cinder situation, as the viewers of Cinder would never have expected what was occurring behind the scenes, and her supposed friends would react the same way. On April 26, 2025, a document dropped from the artist Nanolas, that if you don't remember, we mentioned it like a few minutes ago, you dumbass. She was the person behind the creation of Cinder's VTuber avatar, and so many others within the VTubing space, some of which Cinder was friends with. But this document was Nanolas announcing she would no longer work with Cinder due to her and her manager's behaviour towards her and others. This once again would inspire other people to come out with their own documents, talking about their experiences with Cinder and her manager.
And honestly, that's how it all begins. It starts with the one pebble going down the hill, and then it just turns into an avalanche. Because if you've been disingenuous, if you've been putting on a facade, and you've been secretly doing things behind the back of everybody who is supposed to be your friend, just so that you can sneakily make your way to wedge people out. And during that time, I got to actually see different streams of many of even the bigger YouTubers melting down with regards to where she was. She basically pulled a boomer move. I'm Gen X. I got to watch that in real life. Boomer move, where all of a sudden you got up there, you got what you needed, you got the house, you got all the things, you got all the money, you got all the breaks, you got all the stuff. And then you pull the ladder up from behind so that nobody else can climb it.
Which altogether is a lengthy read and probably rivals the King James Bible in terms of pages at this point. But from all the information that was put out there, it was proven that the manager named Redacted was in fact her boyfriend. I know some of you refugees from the Gunpei community are reliving your own D-Day again, and
yeah, and that's the other side of it. This is why I don't do BFE. I'm sorry. Her whole shtick of doing GFE, that's its own thing. That's why a lot of meltdown happened.
Some of her fans were probably shocked to hear this as well. Some of them probably throwing away their mouse pads with a little wrist support on it that had the exact measurements of our VTubers' areolas. But once again, that one tweet about VTubers having boyfriends was proving correct again. But why is this important? Well, in the Nanolas document and many others, they suggest both her and the manager were working in unison, and they were fully aware of each other's actions, which is important because a lot of the actions spoken about involve really aggressive business tactics, which people would understand in a business environment.
And I spoke on that on my debut stream, that it was shady stuff business-wise because it was trying to force a exclusivity deal without actually holding accountable any of the stuff. Like, no solid requirements on exclusivity or anything like that. It was trying to sneakily go under the table with regards to it. Because if everything had been above board, then everybody would have seen it and everybody would have known. And they did not want that, which contributed to the downfall.
And possibly in the streaming environment if those business tactics were not being used against her own supposed friends. Going back to the Nanolas document, it is actually fairly short, around 18 pages, most of those pages including Discord screenshots between Cinder, the manager, and Nanolas. from 2023 to 2025. Having read the document, it talks about multiple things. But the main point of it is that Redacted, the manager, was trying to push the model creator, Nanolas, to only work with Cinder and blacklist other creators such as Bao, Cottontail, and Silvervale. Once again, some of these people were supposed friends of Cinder, and outside of the blacklisting, they also affected VTubing models for Bao and Silvervale that Nanolas was working on. Around this time, Bao had expressed in a group chat with Cinder how upset she was this got cancelled, and Cinder said nothing, and Silver later shared she'd never really spoken to Cinder except for a meet and greet, and cancelling collaborations that Cinder kept inviting her to twice in 2023. And she also brings up a screenshot of her bringing up Nano after trying to cancel their model at the same time. Back to the negotiations, they offer to pay her and give her a lot of work to cover these blacklisted creators if they ask for art, and all.
Yeah, that was kind of the disingenuous part right here, because it was the pay Nano for no work created for whatever it was that they offered, just to create a blacklist.
She has to do is say no, and they will hire her for a new job to replace that money. They also stated when trying to push for an exclusivity deal that the more avatars this artist creates, the less unique they become. They use this line a lot over the span of 2 years, by the way. It's a weird point. They even clarify all of their...
Basically, they're trying to leverage on the whole thought of treating Nano's brand like it's supreme, which is wrong. I mean, Supreme is Supreme. They do their own thing. It's like Disney. It's like a whole bunch of other stuff. It's like, yeah. And for Nano to cut herself off from getting paid, yeah, that's odd.
Creations are unique. It's not a volatile stock, bud. They also go as far to slander other creators in these messages, like saying Bao had stolen their editor and supposedly locked them up because her music video did better than Bao's, and that Bao is good at emotionally manipulating people, which Bao proves wrong in her document, and the editor comes out to talk about it as well. They mentioned Shy Lily, another VTuber that was associated with them, going on to say she's been acting weird, like ghosting her messages, and when Cinder apparently raided her on...
I'm gonna wait for the moment if he brings up Shy Lily and what happens. Oh god, that was pure cinema.
Twitch, she didn't recognize her by name.
Oh my goodness! Hello! Oh! Hello, Raiders! Hello!
And they were just trying to get information about Lily from Nanolas. They also referred to another VTuber copying Cinder, who was Spite, with similar designs. They talked about Silvervale again, saying they had also...
I'll be honest, Spite got my follow right after that.
Also copied them due to them advertising their figurines on the same day. But Nanolas would reach out to Cinder back in 2023 trying to verify one of the things Redacted was saying, where the infamous line, "It's just business," comes from. Which many thought, you know, these are your friends, it's not just business. But in my personal opinion, I think she was just trying to reassure Nano she is free to do whatever she wants. And then again 2 years later, they would talk again about not taking the exclusivity deal, and Cinder vents her frustration about being compared to Silvervale a lot. So what this basically boils down to is Redacted, and by association Cinder, they wanted this artist to just be doing work for them, and tried pressuring the artist into said deal, in an attempt to somewhat control their output, and to not work for people Cinder was supposedly friends with, and in some cases to drop work being done for others, and also slandered and talked poorly about other VTubers, which potentially impacts their own business and careers, and is essentially backstabbing your friends for your own gain. This affected a lot of people across the VTuber community, but mainly people that were associated with Cinder. Each person made their own document.
I'll admit, that screen cap of Bao was when Bao was talking about it, and I'm a dad. And with regards to age, I'm going to say all those women are about the age of one of my daughters. So, yeah. I would say I wanted to give dad hugs with regards to those ladies and say, hey, It's going to be all right. Things will move on. It hurts now, but things will get better.
Documents sharing their experiences with Cinder and showing proof that some of her claims were false, and some coming forward saying they were the people talked about in some of these screenshots. One document released showing that when Cinder was Tashi.mp3, she had intimately messaged another person and cheated on Redacted, which the document made the person writing it and Cinder just look bad, but admittedly they eventually did cut it off. But it was clear from this point Cinder was not to be trusted. She was highly competitive and business oriented, even with friends. She would eventually release her own document apologizing, which also didn't do too well. It was quite literally spawn camped out the gate.
And honestly, one of the things that this, in its aftermath, has actually caused a bit of a cascading problem that I don't know if Royalty's going to actually touch on here, is it created a bit of a chilling effect in the VTubing community across the board. Big, small, all of it. There's a chilling effect that happened. A lot of VTubers in the space quit doing collabs. It caused paranoia. It actually increased the amount of, is this person actually going to be my friend? Are they going to want to be my friend? Or is everybody that I see around me just out for a transactional arrangement so that they can get a collab? And I have actually seen a severe drop. I mean, I take moments in my off time to actually look around at the scene to actually see who's all doing collabs. And before this, collabs were happening almost every week, every weekend. People were doing collabs out the wazoo. It was all over the place. After this dropped, collabs downfell. Like, a lot of people quit doing it because all of a sudden it came down to a lot of the community just questioning whether or not everybody was being disingenuous with each other, because everybody was looking around in the scene. I'm just assuming from everybody else in the scene, they're looking around and going, are these people actually my friend? And everybody was pressing X to doubt.
The VTuber Shy Lily, who is involved in this and doesn't get that involved with VTuber drama and is seen to be this wholesome VTuber, but in this situation she popped her ult and made Cinder bite the keb basically, along with many other VTubers. But in Cinder's apology she admits Red was her partner and that she previously did cheat on him, but they fixed that in their relationship, and then says he was very business orientated and that she didn't know a lot of the things he was doing, including
she grabbed him by the arm and leg and threw him right in front of the Metro Transit bus,
including the messages with Nana, and that Redacted was no longer her manager. A lot of people just saw this as her throwing her boyfriend under the bus and claiming complete naivety about all the things that were happening, which
I press X to doubt.
People didn't believe. She apologizes to Nana for putting her through this, but says that she never meant to pressure her, but she can see why she saw it that way. Not the best apology when people are saying you tried to manipulate somebody. She apologized to Bao, saying she should have never treated her friends like competition and that she should have known Red was talking bad about her. She apologizes to Cotton and Lily for dragging them into this, and that once again she did not know that Redacted was trying to exclude them and that she had just learned about this herself, which people also didn't believe. She apologizes to Silvervale, who everyone supposedly compared her to, and that she was being eaten alive by harassment relating to this, but she was wrong for letting this get to her. She apologizes to Spite, Peaches, and apologized to her own audience, the Pyropups, and the VTubing community in general.
And from what I understand, there's a good contingent of the Pyropups that didn't forgive her either.
Basically, nobody accepted, and to this day she has not been forgiven. Her reputation is basically liquid diarrhea at this point. She built her career up for multiple years just for this to completely destroy it in seemingly a week. But to be fair, even a month after this happened, things have died down. I wouldn't say people have moved on from it due to the fact it affected so many people, but it isn't as talked about as much as it was initially. Some people have written this situation off as just high school level drama, which I do disagree with due to the fact this has affected people's careers and own business, but that's just me, I guess.
Okay.
Now, even with all the allegations in the air regarding Cinder and a good percentage of her own audience showing outrage and expressing their disappointment to the point where they have begun discarding and throwing away merchandise, however, some have tried to fight back in Cinder's absence, some going after other creators like Shy Lily bringing up her past and saying she is just as worse as Cinder, and some are patiently waiting for Cinder to return. But I was curious why Cinder fans are still holding on. You know, are they just crazy? There are so many documents recording what Cinder had done.
Honest truth, there are some people in the world who are addicted to crazy. I mean, for myself, I even remember being addicted to crazy, because sometimes crazy is kind of the most fun stuff. But you wouldn't want to marry it. Let's be honest.
Why are they still defending her? And I found one of her fans that are still defending her and waiting for her to come back. And to be honest, I went in thinking they were crazy, even though in the title it literally says they are biased, but I gave it a shot, and it wasn't that bad. And the video uses a document by Powder, another VTuber that was not involved in the situation whatsoever. They compiled most of the documents and made a timeline, and from that document it is a very different perspective on the whole situation. They also add their own opinion in there at times, and add clips to show their reasoning. They also take some of the emotional aspects out of the situation and judge it purely based on what happened, and this is what some existing Cinder fans are using to defend her, and I thought it would be interesting to look at the Cinder situation from a different perspective. They start off by saying that before Nanolis dropped her document, she had shown some of the things being said about Shy Lily and other people to Shy Lily herself. This is apparently what started all of the documents, and they use this clip to evidence that, taken from Shy Lily after the situation, talking about it.
Talked to Nano and I was like, Nano, I'm gonna be honest, some of the stuff you have here is heartbreaking. I'm thankful for you showing this to me, but I highly encourage you to share this with the people affected, especially Bao, because, you know, that one nasty one where she sabotages Bao, especially that one. And Nano, the fucking giga chat she is, agreed. She agreed. So we made a group chat.
From there, Bao was then informed about the situation and provided the same screenshots, and then all of them were in a group trying to discuss how they would bring this to light, and it says in the document they went through all the possible solutions and decided to make a Google Doc. The evidence is of Bao's stream going over it, where she is very upset, and she mentions going over all the possible solutions.
We thought of every possible solution on what to do next, and we were really scared, like...
There is then a claim in the document that Bao was told many times to include private information about Cinder being in a relationship, but Bao didn't want to do that.
You do not know how many times I was told to put in my Google Doc the fact that you had a significant other, and no matter how many people told me to put it in, and how stupid I would be to not put it in, I could not bring myself to put it in, because I knew that what that would do to your reputation, and you could not spare that same thought for me.
And then it makes a claim Bao was put in a position to speak up or no one else would.
I hated that I had to be in the position where it had to be me to say something, or no one else would.
Then it claims they slept on it for a night, and then they eventually did post the document. And it also claims at one point Cinder and Redacted were never contacted privately to resolve this. However, there is a clip where Shy Lily says she has tried this before, but it was unsuccessful, and it was regarding a different situation.
People saying, why didn't you handle this private? We did once. We did. And she's only deflecting and pretending to be apologetic when put on the spot.
And then Nana releases her document, and then Bao 6 minutes later. And then after the documents have dropped, Cinder and Redacted reach out to Nano privately, and Nano just blocks them.
Everything went live, and you know what she's done? The first thing they both did, they messaged Nano, going, Nano, please. You know what that absolute fucking Giga Chat did? Her pussy's so fat, bro. Blocked. Blocked.
And then the next day, Cinder releases a statement saying she's removing her manager, and then everyone else proceeds to post their documents with their sides, and then this document proceeds to put all screenshots in order, provided from all the documents, but they do add their own opinion at times, like saying, in Nanolys's document she says Redacted asked her to cancel one of her closest friends.
Yeah, and things get a little bit rough from that point.
Now, but they made the point
Thank
that
you,
the
thank
screenshot
you.
provided is not Redacted telling her to cancel the model, but asking
Thank you for the
if she
follow,
did cancel
John
models,
Hill Headrail.
unless there is more evidence that has not been released. It also says there is missing context with the reason behind Silvervale's commission cancellation, and that ultimately it was Nano's responsibility to cancel this. And it also questions why
No.
sometimes there is gaps in the time with the screenshots,
No, I
like
don't
when they
get
were
that.
talking about the exclusivity deal, and where they were talking about Drama and Lily, which could be conversations about personal information, or just not relevant conversations at all, but there is gaps. Ultimately, this document puts all the events into a different perspective with a timeline. This
Yeah, a different timeline. That actually changes a few views where you can actually view it from a different side, but I'm not going to say it actually changes things for me. It comes down to the business side of things, because she treated it like a business. She treated everything transactionally, and, well, some things can be played out a little bit differently. She can move forward. I'm surprised she hasn't returned, because apparently she does have some of her fan base still there waiting for her. I don't know if she has anything left. Maybe they've forgiven her. Maybe a lot of people haven't. But only time will tell.
document did enlighten me about things I didn't know, like people knowing beforehand, and the fact they launched their documents seemingly at the same time. But they come to a number of conclusions at the end of the document. Firstly, they reiterate they had no involvement in this whatsoever, but wanted to put this in chronological order for clarification. They personally think the claims do not align with the evidence provided, and they wish people would look at the DMs outside of the emotional commentary. They then talk about Red and Nano's DMs in general, saying the DMs do not support the claims of manipulation, and it is a gross mischaracterization of what was happening in the DMs.
And that's where all of a sudden I have to doubt it, because I reread those when they came out several times, trying to actually see which way it could be construed in different ways. And it still came down to me as someone who, I mean, I'm not going to get too deep into my previous history, my work history, everything like that. But let's just say I've been security at a casino before. I have dealt with plenty of different things. I mean, if we were to go back to even in my high school days, everything like that, I was the one bro that wound up having to hear all the drama from all different sides and trying to pick out where the BS was. And all of this just seemed like one. It was basically Mean Girls all wrapped up into one, all in one tight one. Whereas there was one that wanted to be top of all and was willing to do whatever they could business-wise to be on top.
And also that from the DMs they were known to talk about both business and personal topics. And these conversations were very casual, and that ultimately Nano had say over her work, and that she had stood up previously to Red and Cinder, and that she previously made tough business decisions on her own volition.
And this is where I end up saying every time that in those DMs, she was making her statements that she had gotten a commission or was doing something else. And then I swear the replies just seemed like gaslighting to me. It was so freaking tight, because it's where trying to actually do an exclusivity deal without actually putting pen to paper. And right there, there's a difference between doing a pen and paper legal document to actually put down the terms and conditions right there on exclusivity versus doing it as a verbal agreement. Verbal agreements can be a contract. Let's be honest. And when it winds up being a verbals can get misconstrued and really messy really quick. Because there's room for a lot of loopholes. And this is where this argument is going, is that Nano had, due to verbal agreement, plenty of loopholes to go around the exclusivity. So, very hard to say. So, yeah.
And once again, there are gaps and a lack of context in some of the DMs that make them question the claims against both Cinder and Red. They then speak about the relationship between Cinder and Red, and they start by saying that you should keep in mind that Redacted was acting as her manager, and it makes sense he would want his client to be prioritized. But probably the most important thing is the question, just because Cinder and Red were in a relationship, does it mean they know everything which each other was doing?
Unfortunately, that is a disingenuous take from somebody who has been married for years. If your significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, fiance, whatever, if you have them in a business context and they are together in the business context, you cannot be disingenuous with the entire thing. Sorry if I'm sounding like I'm getting angry about this, but you cannot lie to your audience about this. Because you have them and they are in that position, they are your manager, you are in constant contact with them, they are speaking with your authority. They both knew what each other was saying. You cannot just say one is the other is the other. You can't separate it. That's just wrong. And just basically saying that Red was solely at fault and you're going to leave Cinder without fault means you're gaslighting yourself. That's my opinion. You're gaslighting yourself.
It is claimed in a number of documents that, based on personal experience with Cinder and Red, that they believed they spoke for each other and worked in unison. But there is no hard evidence for this. But with everything available to us now, we cannot 100% definitely say they knew everything each other were saying, unless additional information is released, which they might not be able to due to personal information being involved.
But there is also more receipts! Verifiable receipts that weren't added to the doc, because either there are smaller things that just only really become a problem when added up, or they were a little too private to be shared.
However, as the document says, she did stand by what Red was saying at times. And then they talk about the model cancellations, and that they think the evidence weakly supports the claim that Red had involvement in those cancellations. But Red did want prioritization on Cinder, but also expressed understanding, and he didn't want to make Nano feel like she had to do these things. And once again,
that was a soft gaslight between all of it. I mean, I have been around manipulation in personal life, business, everything else. It was so manipulative. I mean, the way the verbiage went, it was basically to lead somebody down a path and just kind of move it forward on what they pretty much wanted.
There is some missing context around the cancellations, and that there is no evidence as of yet that Redacted explicitly tells her to cancel those models.
Okay. This is where we can go over really quick when we're talking about the whole thing. Now, look at these real quick. Okay. All of a sudden, it's like, did you cancel? No, I did not. And of course, Red is moving forward to actually bark at her about it. Nano's like, I'm scared to do so. And then all of a sudden it leads into that last one on the left here. I can give her the design for free as an apology gift. Right there is where Nano caved to what Red was pushing. So it's like Nano's trying to be transparent about the whole thing. And right there, Red right after that is, you didn't tell them you canceled because of my person, did you? Why would you have to ask such a thing? Are we afraid something's going to come out and everything's going to snowball early? You have to ask that. You know? It's like, you have to ask that question going, okay, why did you ask that? You didn't tell them? Projection much?
And if there is evidence of this, why isn't it shown? They then claim at the end of the day the decision to cancel those models was up to Nano, and blaming it all on Redacted shifts that fact. Next they talk about the exclusivity deal, starting off by saying it is completely understandable that those affected by the exclusivity deal would be rightfully upset. But these screenshots were only negotiations, and they think it makes sense that they would push for an exclusivity deal so their work could be produced faster. But it does affect people's Cinder-called friends. But they don't think it's sabotage, as Nano charges a lot for her commissions, and these creators pay high prices for them so they can easily find other people to do these commissions. However, if this deal includes cancelling models mid-commission, it is indeed not fair, and they wish they were shown evidence on the final terms Nano stepped back on. But just to interject my own opinion, a lot of creators choose Nanolith because they know she produces high quality work, and some have worked with her previously for a while, but it puts those creators at a disadvantage as they have to find someone else to trust and trust in their work that it will come out the way they expect. Whereas with Nanolith, they already trust her and they can put their full faith in her. They then speak about the leaked DMs, saying that Nano had leaked DMs of a client to another client, labeling it as careless and inexcusable. Also, seemingly from a business perspective, it should cause concern for people that work with them in the future, and that she chose to end a business relationship by leaking private DMs and shaming them from a Google Doc, and that when this happens they attempted to reach out to her and she blocked them, and then finishes off by saying she may casually mention these facts to other people she's working with, but leaking DMs is too far. Once again, they are talking from a business perspective here. I think they make a good point here, but it is unknown to me how Nanolith conducts her business. They are somewhat on a personal level with the creators they work with, and it does appear most of them are friends. And we don't know if these people have contracts tied to their work, but in terms of client confidentiality, it does look pretty bad. Then we move on to the section where they claim Shy Lily is the orchestrator of this whole situation. I do see what they did there. Orchestrator. She's a whale. Yeah, good pun, bud. They say it was never claimed how involved Shy Lily was until Bao streamed after the situation and mentioned Shy Lily was the first person the DMs were leaked to.
And this
they
is where things start cascading.
Shy Lily claimed that she was slandered, but some of the things Red said was true. The dodging collab statement by Red, they claim was true by providing a clip where Shy Lily admits she did dodge one collab due to the dentist or something, and another she dodged because at that point she already knew.
The day after the dentist, I just simply didn't fucking want to. And the other one, yeah, I dodged. Yeah, I did. Okay, yeah. One of them I did, because at that one, I already knew. And the other one, yes, I dodged. But you know what's weird? The one person that is the reason for me dodging is the one concerned as to why I'm dodging.
They go on to say the other slanderous message was also proven true regarding ghosted messages, where they provide a clip where Shy Lily admits to this.
So anyways, yes, I am guilty of dodging a collab, because I simply didn't fucking feel like it.
Okay. That's everybody's right when it comes to dodging collabs. I am not going to fault anybody for that. But honestly, I'd wish that you would have the common decency to actually say, nah, I'm not feeling it. I'm sorry. I can't come. So I've got life. I got things. I got brainworms. I got whatever. You know? Just do that. Have some respect for people.
And yes, I am guilty of ghosting 2 messages where she asked for a collab, which, by the way, she also only does when there is something business related.
But she also does say in the same stream that a lot of the time she isn't good at communicating with over Discord, and she sometimes does ghost people.
Everyone who is in contact with me, anyone who is close, even my viewers, everyone knows I suck at Discord. I'm very distant, I'm very messy, I don't check often, and I'm not very thorough. So, and she knows that too, because it happened last year as well.
And then the final slanderous claim was that Lily didn't acknowledge Cinder directly when they raided her on Twitch, and they provide the clip I showed you before where she doesn't mention Cinder's name when raided, but she does acknowledge it happened.
Hello, raiders! Hello! The Pyropop raid! Hello, Pyropops! What did you guys do?
But Lily does talk about this later in her stream, saying she does not have to announce your full legal name when you raid her.
First of all, okay, I am petty. I didn't even get a section for myself. I am going to be super petty. Not even a section for myself. For someone that is so upset for me not naming her full fucking government Twitch.tv name, for someone to just put me in a document as Lily when previously referring to me as the other GamerSubs owner.
They finish this part off by saying it isn't slander if the statements Red made were proven to be true. And then the document goes on to say Charlotte has previously stated she had a gut feeling against Cinder.
So most people stay back. Usually when you have a gut feeling, in my case anyways, usually when you have a gut feeling,
And you can't fault people for having gut feelings. Everybody has those. Sometimes all of a sudden something puts your guard up.
stay back and you observe. You take distance. I'm a very distant, very in my own lane kind of person to begin with, and how your friends like that friend. You know, everything seems peachy. And then you're like, you know what? My gut feeling fucking ass. Shouldn't have trusted it. You know what? Should have trusted it. Long story short, VTuber makes friends in VTuber space. Friends appreciate having a friend. Turns out they were never a friend.
And then they also go on to say...
And that right there calls out a lot of the stuff for the space, because the trust broke down. A lot of the time the trust is broken down with all of that. And we see that. We see that a lot because, like I said before, it comes down to the whole idea that, you know, is the person that I am trying to affiliate with, I'm hoping that they would be a friend to me or anything like that. And looking at it, that having that gut feeling that no, they're not actually my friend, that they're just going to see me as a transactional. I mean, this goes for a lot of smaller VTubers. This goes with a lot of smaller streamers, a lot of other people. And it actually has a chilling effect for all of it. Excuse me. So everything goes where it is. We as streamers see this kind of thing, and a lot of us personally, because we're human, we want to have that connection. We want to have community. We want to have people that we can relate with and be friends with. But a lot of this entire situation just kind of pulled up the rug and exposed all of Asmongold's cockroaches all over the entire room for the whole situation. That, yeah, a lot of people that are out there in the space see everything as monetization, clout chasing. Everybody's got to get that bag, and you need to step on everybody else just to get up to the top. When the truth is, be happy with yourself. You need to be happy with yourself. You need to stand by your own principles, be authentic with who you are, and hopefully you are able to make friends and have honest conversations and do fun things. Because that's the main goal of all this. You want to have fun. Because if it's not fun, why do it? You know? This is why I'm still here. You know? Here we go.
Shy Lily has displayed petty behaviour before, using evidence like when she had issues with Cinder claiming she's the Charizard of V-cards.
When she sat there and she tried to make this thing with me and we were doing a collab and she was just like, oh haha, the Charizard on Blast, Charizard V-card doing the oh, like, how dare you sit there and pretend to be some Boggs legendary of something that you didn't create? I trust me, we all cringed, but people sometimes get excited and they do cringe-worthy stuff.
And then another where she insinuates it's okay to ban Cinder's merch, but in the clip provided she does a few seconds later say it's okay to donate merch as well.
But on top of that, again, if you cope by burning your merch, I ain't judging. You cope the way you wanna cope. I cope through memes and making fun of things. That also isn't fucking perfect. But if you have it in you and you can cope with it, try and donate everything you've got.
Then they state that Shy Lily gloats about the Cinder situation in their stream, but compared to Bao, who was very upset, they state Shy Lily was almost pleased with this outcome, but to be fair, at the start of her stream she does clarify with this situation she deals with it differently, using humour, if that adds anything to this claim.
This is going to be my way of coping with this. You're gonna have to just sit through this. You're gonna have to sit through these very distasteful comments.
But they do finish this segment off by saying Shy Lily encouraged Nano to tell other people about these DMs, and says the situation was so urgent she had to involve Bao a few days after her surgery, and that from Cinder's apology she would have never believed her.
All she had to do, you want a good apology for when you fuck up, and money, and greed for even more. The greed was unbearable. Yes, I'm terrible. Done. Of course I wouldn't f***ing believe her. What the f***? Manipulator? Of course not. Obviously not.
And that she makes claims that aren't supported through DMs, and they wonder what she saw others didn't.
Needlessly to say.
That's the thing. We aren't privy to a lot of the conversations that happen in the back end. Because we weren't there, we weren't part of it, and yeah. There could have been some pretty nasty things actually talked about that they really did not actually bring to light. Think about it. Insert the meme of tap the forehead, you know? Like, think about it.
More stuff has happened, needlessly to say. But most of these things don't have receipts. Or the receipts have personal, private stuff attached to it. That's just, you just can't share.
Then they move on to Bao, where they believe Bao was pressured into making this document under the impression if she didn't, nobody else would, and was urged to put personal information in there, but it's commendable she didn't. They add her document is very emotional, and claims are not supported by the evidence provided, but finishes with it's understandable why Bao would be so upset, especially with claims Red made like her music video being a flop, including her by name in the exclusivity deal, and misrepresenting why the editor was not working with Red and Cinder going forward. They have a section on Cinder as well, saying her apology was complete dog shit, which it was, and maybe their friend's willingness to go public with this information is a poor reflection on her character, which may be corroborated by all the people coming out with poor experiences with Cinder, like a clip by Silvervale saying she had an artist reach out to them and say similar things have been occurring with them and Cinder.
They told me that she had told them that I hated her and I was this malicious person and that I was so mean and I just hated her so much, like usually conveniently right after doing a project. Or
I'll be honest, I didn't really catch a lot of the stuff for Silver, but it definitely seems like she's holding herself together during all of this for this stream. So, yeah, she's hurt on the back end, but she's trying to carry through it.
RP.
And Shy Lily saying previously that Cinder had thrown her under the bus.
For her to claim she has no knowledge, when I know for a fact she does, but I have no proof other than hearsay, it reminded me of that one fact, the one receipt we do have though. where she herself personally throws me under the bus, and I made sure to quote her own words, because again, that screenshot isn't public.
They also finish by saying they are not up to date with every bad thing Cinder did, and that they think Cinder should keep going and take this as a learning experience. The overall conclusion, yes, we're almost there, no more Google Docies. I personally don't want to look at another doc with Naruto font ever again. It was way too much reading. But they finish off by saying that they think the situation should have never gone public, which is a valid argument. Multiple parties knew about this beforehand, but I think they made this public to try and prevent similar things happening with other artists. Like with the Silvervale clip, she reveals Cinder or her manager was doing the same thing with other artists. And there is the potential claim that they tried to reach out and fix this privately before, with a different situation, but there is no evidence of both. But we still do not know 100% that Cinder and her manager knew everything each other was saying. But yes, she did somewhat acknowledge the exclusivity deal and vent frustrations to Nana about other creators. And the document leaves off with they don't think this was enough to go after someone's career, and it reads as a hit on Cinder by other parties. But ultimately,
Unfortunately, the problem with this kind of line of thought that it was a orchestrated hit. Honestly, if you have been disingenuous to people for about over 2 years and it just finally bubbles over, where it is where everybody has their own feels and they've been up in their feels for an entire 2 years, and everything points to it just feeling scummy and disingenuous, then we have to ask the question, okay, why does it feel that way? So, yeah, they end up busting out, and then they drop their dockies, and all of a sudden we have all of this drama. So, yeah, I wouldn't say it's a disingenuous take. This is a call out. This is where everything goes down. And honestly, I still say what I said on my debut when I first ever started, saying that, yeah, she needs to come forward. She needs to own that. She needs to own it all and try to move forward and, not be disingenuous anymore and, strive to be better. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, she could even, find Jesus, have a coming to Jesus moment and actually just, admit to it, saying, I effed up. I need to move forward. And I need to pick up the pieces of what I have done and ask forgiveness of the people I have wronged and admit I am wrong. But we all know pride goeth before a fall. So if you're up in your greed and your pride, I don't see Cinder ever returning. I really don't. She hasn't returned yet. She may never return. She may be so embarrassed because everything basically got exposed that she's now off putting fries in the bag, bro. No joke.
It did vent frustrations and say distasteful things, but these were said in private with confidence, and we can all relate to venting frustrations with a friend. And that is the document. I think it was an alright document. It gives an interesting perspective and a timeline of events, but that is the other side and the contention with the claims made. And thankfully, it is the final document I have to look at.
A new hand touches the beacon.
In conclusion, in a perfect world, this all would have been solved privately, but there are a number of reasons they potentially didn't go about this, many of which I've mentioned. I think a lot of the documents rely on the fact Cinder and Redacted were working in unison to prove a lot of their points against them, but except for knowing about the exclusivity deal, which is backstabbing her friends, and venting her frustrations about other creators to Nana, but in other messages it is not definitively proven she knew everything Red was doing. An additional context is needed at times, but admittedly those around her do corroborate this after knowing her personally, but say the evidence is hearsay or they can't release sensitive information. Redacted is definitely a terrible manager, I can say that for certain, but Cinder also, once again, does still look terrible for the things she admitted to in her apology, like treating friends like competition, cheating on her partner, being obsessed with Silverville to...
Honestly, I didn't bring up the whole cheating on the partner. I skipped over that because that stuff was kind of disgusting. Because that had to do with a separate document with a different dude and con stuff and OF content and a lot of ASMR stuff. It was kind of bad. But then again, when you look at the person who actually posted those documents with regards to that, they were, I mean, as my waifu puts it, it takes two to tango, baby. Yeah. Two wrongs don't make a right, and they both did wrong on that one. But when it comes down to all of this, all of those parties are wrong, baby.
A point and creating an apology document with no further evidence but just saying, I'm sorry you feel that way, essentially. It was a terrible apology. I don't know how many times I've said that. But can Cinder come back from this? I think it would be very hard to, but I think she can. She will come back to hate and probably harassment, but she still will have some fans waiting for her. Some that think there is more to this situation, and some that have buried their head in the sand and don't even know the situation exists. But I will leave all the documents in the description or a pinned comment, and you can come to your own conclusion. I'm personally all Google Doc-ed out, buddy, but let me just install some fear on you real quick. All of your favourite VTubers have partners, fuck you, and yeah, that's all I wanted to say,
Yep,
and bye-bye.
I'll agree. That's why I've been honest about it. That is why I've been honest about it. Because, yeah, truthfully, behind the scenes, you can assume whatever you want. But I'm pretty sure every single girl VTuber that is on the internet, they probably have someone out there. But of course, some of them lean into the whole I'm single and doing the GFE experience, which of course leads to its own memes. And my favorite example of this is Kirsha. I mean, I don't talk bad about her, but sometimes I have to wonder, you know, because the common meme is she's dating Asmongold. She denies it, but sometimes her own chat goes, hey, she doth protest too much, so they immediately assume. But, you know, I'm pretty sure she's not actually dating anyone, because everything else that she's actually talked about, if you've actually followed her, she talks about actually going and making sure that she's saving up her money, and she intends on moving. Hell, she intends on moving over 1,000 miles distant from where Asmongold is. She already lives distant from where he's at. She intends on moving further away. So, yeah. It's a good meme, though. It's a good meme. So, of course, if you haven't done anything with regards to royalties content, I'm going to give you guys the link here. That way you guys have it. I have my own complaints about my streaming setup, but hey, that's neither here nor there. Of course. And I did have one last one for the night to definitely give with the road. So it's a final shot to actually take a peek at. It's a Rev. Happy Men's Health Awareness Month. And how controversial a thing that is. Because I'm a man, and that's how it is. Because, yeah, a lot of people are crashing out about this.
So in case you don't know, June is Men's Health Awareness Month, or also known as Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. This is an event that's been around for over 3 decades at this point, and it seems like every year this event gets more and more popular. And of course, with more popularity and more people posting about this on social media, there's also a bigger spotlight and people who are very upset about people trying to focus on men's mental health in the month of June. We're seeing this in the VTubing space and in gaming spaces as well, where people are very angry because they believe a focus on men's mental health awareness in the month of June is casting a shadow over Pride Month.
Say it ain't so. Did we also know that it's also Veterans Month? I'll be honest, I can identify with all three of these groups, and really, I do not care. Because I have worked so hard in my life that most of these months, it's a small month of awareness of all sorts of different spots, all different things. And I'm a man. I carry on with my life. Most of this, I'm too busy working on my 9 to 5. I'm too busy working my grind. I'm too busy doing my work. I'm too busy trying to get that bag. Do I really focus on this stuff that much? Not really. But it's good to acknowledge it. It's good to acknowledge that these things exist, that they're there, to actually put forward that people need help. So, but you'll have to bear with me. I ran out of drink. So I'm going to go get a soda real quick, and I will be right back. And here we go.
Now we'll get into the examples of all that happening in those related scenes, but first I'll give my usual spiel on this topic. To everyone watching this video, I think this month is a great opportunity to check in on the men in your life, to make them feel like they're not invisible, and to make sure they know their mental health matters. Now,
honestly, yes, many men feel very invisible.
To the men watching this, I think there's many great things about being a man and masculine traits and all those things, but there's one very unfortunate thing that's been pervasive throughout society, and that is telling men that their mental health doesn't matter and that they're not supposed to speak about it. But it is important.
Yeah, we're not supposed to speak about it. We're supposed to actually suck it up. We're supposed to actually keep it in. We're supposed to bottle it up. And that's one of the reasons why this is why I echo for veterans awareness. This is a thing. How many men are veterans? If they bottle up everything that they got, next thing you know, it's the Remington retirement plan. Okay? Live, laugh, toaster bath. We make those jokes. We do. We make it more often than everybody else because we know it's a thing. If we didn't make it when we were God knows where, over in the desert, over in somewhere else, all of a sudden out to sea, whatever, it's one of those things that you get used to, that things could be done in a moment's notice because you actually have a cause that you are pushing for, that you actually have those moments. And the being next to a friend that you have been friends with. I mean, you wind up having a battle buddy and you're with them. You go through the crap. You're side by side. You cover each other's butt. You cover everybody on your squad. You cover people that you know. And then when you're in the thick, there is no non-believer in a foxhole. I'll say it again. There is no non-believer in a foxhole. When everything is in the shit, you are relying on your brothers. You are relying on the people next to you. And if you make it home, you don't forget. But you come home and you are expected to be quiet, to keep it inside, to not talk about it, because you will scare the normal people. You'll scare the civvies. It is what it is. Yep, and I have an anger management cat. Thank you, Duella. She gets at me when all of a sudden I start getting things pushed. Because, yeah. Everybody has different things. I have a support animal that actually tells me, hey, you're getting too up in your feels. You're losing control. So I have to watch it. But yeah. While I'm talking about this, I'm remembering different things that are in the back of my head that I would never tell anyone about. Because it is too graphic for YouTube. It is too graphic to put out on the internet. It's not things that you talk about. It's things that bring the rain for me. There are people that I miss to the core of my soul. That I didn't really get to say goodbye. They were gone. Thanos snapped, as it were. And I will never forget them. Because it's because of them that I'm still here today and I have a family.
To speak about. You got to be your own advocate for yourself, and it's not a one-size-fits-all type solution. There's many resources out there that you can use, whether it's talking to someone or engaging with something or making changes in your life. It's all important to try, even if it's a bit scary, because your mental health matters because, well, you matter. Now, finally, to the women watching this, there's a very small suggestion and a powerful one I can give you for this month. Whether it's your boyfriend, your husband, your father, any man in your life that you care about, you can do a very small gesture, and that is buying them some flowers. This will stun lock them. They will...
I would not only be stun locked, but if my wife actually brought me even so much as one flower, I wouldn't be stun locked. I would probably fall on my staircase. I'd be done. Dead ass, I'd be done. I just crash. Bam. Because let's look at the truth, everybody. The truth is, most men don't expect to ever get a flower. And the only time that most men actually expect to have any flowers is when they're no longer here to get them. On that last day. That final day. I'll be honest. I have been given a flower once. Long time ago. And it's not my waifu. And it lives rent-free in my head. It was a artificial flower, no less. And I hung on to that artificial flower for 2 years. It was still there. I had it for 2 years. You don't forget that.
Will be very happy. It'll make their day. They'll probably remember it for months, if not years. You don't have to give them anything expensive. They won't know the difference anyways. But this is something small that you can do that will make their day. And this has to do with the whole moniker that people say every month or every time Men's Health Awareness Month comes up, where there's a sad fact that most men will never receive flowers until the day of their funeral. And I think that's a very sad fact and something that can be a really nice gesture to do during this month. Okay, so now that we got that and all the fluff out of the way, let's get into the video for today. So right now in the VTubing scene, there's a lot of people participating in Men's Health Awareness Month, including people like this raising money for related causes.
The one thing to definitely say is there are many very different Christian VTubers. Some really focus on biblical principle. And I don't fault them for that on their content. I really don't. Some of them, some of us are a little more metered in our approach. We'll actually talk about things from our own viewpoints. But the truth is, we are ourselves. Being a Christian does not necessarily mean that you have to espouse, spit out biblical references every second of every day. You really don't have to. But you hold yourself to a higher counter, is what it is. Christians actually hold themselves to a standard. Okay. We'll list off some of my sins straight out the gate. Okay. I'll be straight up right here. I spent quite a long time and did not actually become a Christian until several years ago. Okay? Definitely on a timeline, I am old man. Hi. Yeah. Old. I'm Gen X. That puts you in the ballpark. Gen X kind of ended at the end of the 70s. So yeah, when I showed up, I was just before the millennials arrived. So if I had been held off for at least a couple more years, I'd be a millennial. I'll just be honest. So it's in that ballpark down in the 70s, 80s, okay? So you can pretty well figure out my age at that point and basically say I'm ancient. I'll take it. But this is the problem of being ADHD. Remembering where I was going with crap. But we can hold ourselves to a different standard. Higher than most other people. Lust was my biggest sin for the longest time. I have committed so many sins over the years. Partially not being Christian. Living for myself. Being selfish. Lust. Basically the best thing to say is I wasn't a gooner, I was a player. Yeah. I played a lot. In fact, the one thing I can smile and be happy about is the fact that there are OF girls that are out there that put my body count to shame. So, at least I can be happy for that, but I still have a high one. And I can definitely call things out with regards to a lot of that stuff. But the truth is, when you see somebody that has the Christian tag, you might run into them actually doing their Bible stream, and do not count that against them. They're just wanting to actually point out what they're trying to learn that day. So they might be focusing on something that they are feeling personally called out on. So they're holding themselves to account. Okay? So don't hate on them. They're trying to be a better person. Never fault somebody for trying to be a better person. Hey, expect the person who is absolutely heavy to be going into the gym. Are you going to shame somebody for going to the gym and wanting to lose over 100 pounds and make themselves healthier? No. Do you shame somebody for wanting to focus on their mental health and try to actually hold themselves to a higher standard and be a better person, be more caring, more servant-like to other people? That's the one thing that I find absolutely crazy calling out Christians right now. Because the one thing that you will find if you actually approach a Christian, if you have a problem, money, something you can't get done, something work you can't get done, they might be one of the first people to step up and go, hey, I'm here to help. What do you need? Ask yourself that. Would somebody else be willing to actually step up for you? Because I know for a fact, if you were near me and I was able to actually touch you physically, even if you knew I was a VTuber, I'd show up mask on. Mask on. I'd show up, you'd hear my voice, and I'd say, hey, I'm here to help you out. I'm here to move your stuff. Because it's one of those things of washing feet. You wash others' feet.
That's really great. And you have this post from Banana Juju, who we've talked about like 3 times in the last 2 months because people love to try to cancel her, and they're doing it once again with this post that I think...
Oh, Banana. I heard she actually went to Kick. Good on her. Hopefully she is working awesome.
Is a really nice one, talking about Men's Mental Health Month, where she says, to all the men out there, wherever you are, whatever you are doing right now, take care of yourselves. You guys do not have the same outlets or support like other groups for your problems, and to this day, society still has a lot of work to do when it comes to this. Statistics paint a clear picture here. You guys are taking the constant hits while staying quiet, so grab your loved one or a friend and tell them what you have on your mind and what kind of problems you might go through. There's nothing weak about that, and it takes the load off of your shoulders. I always have to remind my hubby about that. I am thinking of all of you hard workers / family men / strong supporters for our female craziness and backbone of society.
Let's be straight up.
I am thinking
females
of you,
are crazy.
and I love you guys. So a very nice post. What could possibly go wrong? Oh, this is Twitter, and people are insane. So you had this quote right here. I'll point this one out first, saying, is there a point to this month's theme other than women just collecting sympathy points? Dude, you really can't do anything on Twitter without upsetting people like this.
Of course.
This gives like really strong male feminist energy right here, where they're like, yeah, those evil men, boo, down with them. And while they're doing it, they're like, shut up, women, you're not allowed to talk about this. It's very pathetic to see, but there was this one right here that got a lot of attention from another VTuber, saying, babe, a new based VTuber grift just dropped. Again, people on Twitter not knowing what grift means whatsoever, implying that...
Let's be honest, everybody works a grift. Let's just be honest, everybody works a grift. This tweet here is a grift. Everybody works a grift. Let's get over ourselves. Thank you.
Banana Juju is lying about this. She doesn't actually care about men's mental health, and that she's doing this for some sort of a profit. That's what a grift would be. But now, basically, everything on Twitter is a grift. Caring about men's mental health, that's a grift. Breathing makes you a breath grifter at this point. Very weird stuff, and people would go after this person. This is obviously a very stupid thing to say. And responding to the criticism, they said this: I thought June was all about pretending to care about gay people, but I guess that's out of fashion now. It's just a shit post. Don't overthink it. Ah, yes. I was just pretending to be stupid. Yeah, I don't buy it. I look at the replies and what they're showing here too, and clearly this person really is angry about this.
Yeah, they got called out.
Grift when people say it, and they just got caught looking stupid, and now they're trying to backpedal and say this is all a joke. But this is the examples they're providing here that make absolutely no sense. Beginning with this post from Kitsu, where she's saying she's trying to look into a charity that deals with men's mental health. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, in the year 2025, grifting is when charity. Make it make sense, please. But there's other examples from Rosie here, a very nice post she made, and some other VTubers as well. nice post, but of course they are being besmirched and attacked here for reasons that I can't really comprehend. And at the end of this thread, calling people grifters over caring about men's mental health awareness, they do the most predictable thing ever, and that's promote themselves. Yep, they share their own Twitch account, hoping to cash in on the outrage they have produced. And if they're going to self-promote, well, guess what? I'm going to do the same. Just in time for today, you can use code REV30 to get 30% off your total Advanced GG order. Use that link in the pinned comment to get here. There is something very exciting to share with you guys. A limited time summer apparel line right here. And I gotta tell you, absolute bangers. Cool designs, very high quality. I've had their merch before. Very good stuff. You can see the very many different options, including t-shirts as well as shorts, and also these handbags, these duffel bags. And I'll just make this very clear. The only thing the REV30 code doesn't work on is the duffel bags. That's it. Everything else, the 30% code will get you 30% off on your order. But yes, you have this apparel line, and I will say, if we sell enough apparel on this line using my code, we will have some special Rev apparel coming very soon. So every little bit of support on this helps greatly. And also, if you just want the regular Advanced GG flavor jars, you can use this tab right here and use code REV30 to also get 30% off of all these various flavor jars. Big hit with all of you guys, especially the new peach rings. You guys really seem to like that. Yeah, so that is what's going on with the latest campaign with Advanced GG. I will put, again, a link in the pinned comment. And
hey
also
man,
make
you
sure
already
use
got to
code
post your
REV30
grift.
to get 30%
It
off
is what it
the
is,
total
bro.
order. And let's get a lot of sales and make sure we get a new Rev apparel line for this summer. Okay, so going back to some other tweets here, there was a very bizarre moment in the gaming scene. A twist many people like myself did not see coming. Rainbow Six Siege and Ubisoft made a post that will flabbergast you. They say this: it's okay to take off the mask. Strength and vulnerability are not mutually exclusive. June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. We'd like to encourage you to reach out to your friends, ask them how they're doing, pick up a game together, look out for one another. You matter with this artwork right here. I'm flabbergasted, like I said. Everyone would have expected Ubisoft and Rainbow Six Siege to do what they do every year on June 1st, and that is put the pride flags in their bios and in their profile pictures, but they didn't do that this year, along with a lot of other companies. I think there's a message being sent about virtue signaling, companies virtue signaling about this sort of stuff. But yeah, Rainbow Six Siege coming out and supporting Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. You know what? Ubisoft and these accounts have made a lot of mistakes, but I will give them credit where credit is due. I think they hired someone new for their social media campaign here, and they said, instead of appealing to activists on Twitter who don't buy our games anyways, let's appeal to our actual target audience here, men who are the people playing Rainbow Six Siege, largely, of course, not exclusively, but largely. And the comments are very positive.
Yeah.
Rare Ubisoft W. Well done.
You've been
Ubisoft, is that
nerd-rotic.
really you? Did we accidentally walk into a different timeline?
Yeah, good question
But of
right
course,
there.
We also have this person saying it's Pride Month, which is an odd thing. It's a sentiment I've seen on a lot of posts about Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, where basically they say you have to support both of these things or you're a bigot.
Of course. The one thing that definitely got called out this month, and a lot of streamers have actually touched on this, look out there in the entire space. This goes back to something that I called out way back in 2010. I mean, we're talking 2005 even, when Pride Month was doing its thing and actually showed all the advertisers and all the dollar and all the rainbow flag everywhere else. And I'll be honest, yeah, bisexual male. I have my own tales of my own sins on that one. Kind of why my body count's a little high. I have a few moments. But, I mean, heck, if you're a Whovian, yes, I lived a life that was kind of like Jack Harkness, okay? So, I ended up seeing this entire thing for all of these different companies waving the rainbow flag and seeing it all over the place, and I worked retail. When it came out that they were doing all the rainbow flags on Pride Month for all of the products, I kind of chalked that up just like Pink Month. Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It was pink everywhere. All of a sudden, it's like you realize that all of this is just a grift. It's all money. These companies don't give two shits. And that's me being mad. They could do flying Fs about everybody. They want the dollar. Basically, they brand a whole bunch of stuff with either pink for breast cancer awareness or a rainbow flag for pride because it's a marketing ploy. It's a grift. They're marketing it out so that they know you'll buy it. And when it doesn't sell anymore, they're gonna stop doing it, which we're seeing now. This month, they're done. The rainbow is no longer providing ad dollar, so they are no longer providing ad dollar for it. Yeah. As somebody who is in the content space, yeah, kind of sad that that ad dollar isn't coming out anymore. But, you know, it's a choice. They're choosing not to do it. At least I can be happy they're no longer being disingenuous about it. So let's not cry about the fact that they're not actually putting money forward and waving a flag about it when they didn't actually care to begin with. Because seriously, do you really need the support of people who really don't care and are there for the dollar? Huh? You with me? Okay.
Right. And they also try to say that, like, Pride Month came first, therefore you can't celebrate Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, which is just factually not true. Men's Mental Health Awareness Month was created in 1994, and Pride Month was in 1999. Then you think about other holidays like Trans Visibility Day, which is a recent one that happens on Easter. Like, do they really want this logic of claiming whatever comes first is what should be celebrated? It kind of backfires on them pretty badly. But there's some other comments this person saying in response to the previous user saying it's actually Veterans Month. They say,
see, like I said, it's Veterans Month.
Is this Frogan's secret account or something? Like, very mask off moment, but then again, this person doesn't seem like a very happy individual. Another person said, I'm proud to be a straight white male. Are you saying I don't matter? And they say, yes. This is precisely why we need Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. It's because of people like this who want to denigrate you because you're a man. Simply because you're a man. But there's other comments feeling...
I identify as a Native American man that does not check the box. My current employment, I got there on merit. I did not check the box. I checked the box after I got in, after I got where I am, and then they promptly decided to shove me into a group because of my skin color. Sag.
Very betrayed thanks to this move by Rainbow Six Siege on Twitter. This person in quote says, June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, end quote. We are not even worth as free money anymore. Oh my effing God. Yeah, they're realizing the companies didn't actually care about them and all the virtue signaling.
Like I just said.
To try to curry favor on social media. A tough break for people like this. Another one says, in quotes, June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, end quote. Bro. And posts like this, 49,000 likes. And I'm not surprised because this is Twitter and things like this tend to pop off.
Twitter gonna be
Twitter.
Twitter.
Saying June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. People who are desperate for attention. Yeah, I guess caring about men's mental health is being desperate for attention. Oh, okay, Interesting. This lovely individual says, men aren't lonely enough. And another
Dude.
person says we'd probably be better off if the average Siege player game-ended themselves.
Bro.
Ladies and gentlemen, these are the normal people. And again, the reason why we need things like men's
Let's face it, normies aren't on Twitter.
Mental Health Awareness Month. That's pretty much going to do it for this video. It's obviously pretty disturbing to see how angry and how politicized people treat something as simple as caring about men's mental health. But unfortunately, this is Twitter. But I will say, as I hinted at earlier in this video, seeing the amount of people participating in this, in the VTubing scene, in the gaming scene, and all across social media, there's more now than ever, which is an amazing thing. Okay, it's really cool to see. And despite people trying to throw a hissy fit over this, you should be very encouraged, anyone watching this video, to see a campaign like this getting more and more supports and people trying to back this because they think this is an important issue. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.
Definitely. Definitely a good one. Definitely a good one. Oh, thank you, Rev, for spitting facts, like always. So, of course. Definitely have to see how things go. But we're heading to the end of the night here. It's been a bit. Glad to have you all here. My first launch over here on Kick. Definitely happy to start the multi-stream journey over there. Because, of course, multi-stream all over the place. Because, as I said before, I'm just starting out. I'm small. I'm not the biggest guy in the world. I'm not affiliate. I'm just hoping I can find people that are willing to actually chat with me and hang out and have a good time. So, of course, we'll definitely take a peek over here with regards to who's raiding what today. So, let's see. Let's see here. See if I got anybody out today. Oh boy. That's definitely strange. Is Kirshi actually on? Wow. She actually came back. Well, I guess we're going to raid into Kirsha today over on Twitch, at the very least. So, definitely get that kicked off. Don't exactly have hosting over on Kick just yet. Apologies for that. We'll see how that goes. Definitely a bit of a journey for today. And hopefully everything can roll nice and smoothly with the rest of everything else. Hopefully everybody has a very good night. And we will definitely see how everything goes. You guys have a very good night. And I guess we'll see you next time. Okay?
Is he peeing?